Quickly into space, Concepcion, blockers in front, and here he goes. KC says TD.
This is 365 Sports.
30 seconds in the quarter, second down, throw to the end zone. Douglas. Touchdown, Texas Tech. What a drive.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so budget.
Sorsby to keep with broken ankles. See ya.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Another first for Andy. Pressure off the edge. He steps up, and now he's going to run for the end zone and score. Diego Pavia.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Takes another shot. Wide open Toger. Touchdown, South Florida. 63 yards.
Here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And here we go on a Monday. I'm not sure if we have clarity or more confusion after the college football weekend. Some clarity for some schools, and then some others are trying to figure out they're probably in a fog. Good afternoon, 365 Sports with Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak, and we do appreciate your time. Our guest today will include Andy Staples of On 3, and then also today, we're going to hear from Jared Mosley, the Director of Athletics at the University of North Texas, ranked in the top 25 for the first time since my birthday year, 1959. That's how long it's been. And Phil Bennett will join us, too. So let's start with some of the bangers, and we'll kind of filter in and out, also get inside the Big 12. But Texas A&M, I get off the golf course Saturday morning. It is 20-3. Reed throws a pick in the end zone. Next thing you know, Paul and I start trading a couple of texts. It was a comeback for the ages, but my goodness, that's why you play the games. 30-3, and they come back to win.
I know that in my life, Texas A&M has come back to win games. I mean, that's one of the largest comebacks in SEC history. So it's the largest in their history as well. But I don't do anything like that. And here's the thing. Like, little parts of them popped up at the end. They're at the 1 yard line, and Colin Klein got really cute with a play call, and that defense bailed them out at the end of the game. It sends, like, not only questions about, man, how good could this Texas A&M team be once they get in the postseason, and how much better are they maybe than some of the teams that they'll play for the first time in their life. But also, South Carolina is in an absolute tailspin, and they were dominating the game in the first half. And then the second half, the Texas A&M team that we know came out and just dismantled them. And Marcel Reed was fantastic, in quarters 3 and 4.
Yeah, I'm glad you clarified there. Quarters 3 and 4, he was fantastic. Not so much in quarters 1 and 2. But, that was an amazing comeback. Historic, obviously, as has been pointed out. all weekend long, and a season saver in some ways. Now, they could have lost that game and still found their way to the SEC title game, and obviously the playoffs pretty much a clinched deal at this point, but things would have gotten pretty hairy and sideways had they lost that game and then had to turn around and say, well, we play Texas in 2 weeks, and who the hell knows with that game, how that's ever going to turn out, being the rivalry that it is. So, they avoided absolute disaster. And even though there is more room for error, just the look of the team and the feel around what the story has been following a loss at home to South Carolina, especially the way it was looking early on, I mean, that would have been an ugly weekend to have to deal with if you're Texas A&M. You wouldn't have been announcing the Mike Elko contract extension immediately afterwards and having fun having done that. I wonder what they would have done as far as the timing of that. Maybe waited a few days or waited until the next win. I don't know. But, that was a great win. Reed finally got it together, and it was incredible. And just an awful, awful loss on the other hand for South Carolina. I mean, one that puts Shane Beamer squarely in the crosshairs of, all right, let's start putting our list together for next year and who's going to start on the coaching carousel. And I think that Shane Beamer is probably fine for right now because the pool's already so filled with open jobs, even though there's a lot still to be determined. But I do think you start looking down the line and you go, yeah, Shane Beamer's he's turned up the temperature on himself with that one on Saturday. That's for damn sure.
He might have turned it up on himself. I get he was pumped up as he entered the tunnel after the first half. I would be too. But then it was A&M had zero room for error to get back in the game, to come back and take the lead, even though, as Paul mentioned, they almost went Aggie on the 2-yard line. So there's that one. And we will get to the DPS officer in that incident too. And then Oklahoma. How many of you admit it, have said since the SEC was formed, since OU and Texas joined the SEC, thought that, well, Oklahoma was going to be the Nebraska of the SEC. There were thoughts, there were signs, there was evidence. But now, despite a rugged schedule that's still not done, what a win for the Sooners in Tuscaloosa, back-to-back years against Alabama. And as I believe, I don't know who it was, maybe somebody told me this, not so fast, my friends, as the Sooners win, and they are right smack in the middle of the college football playoff discussion.
Oklahoma's not getting in the SEC title game unless some crazy stuff happens here in the next couple weeks. But if they beat Mizzou with a backup quarterback and LSU on their last legs, then they'll probably be in the playoff. I don't see any reason why you keep a 10-2 team with a win over Alabama out of it. And that was, especially given the fact that Oklahoma's offense wasn't like I would have thought that it would have been maybe a kind of a more dynamic game, or it kind of got loose or out of hand for Oklahoma to win the game. They popped Ty Simpson right in the mouth, and I'll let Craig talk about the rest of it as I welcome him into the My Team Beat Alabama club this year.
I've been hanging around that club, but this year,
yeah,
for sure, specifically this club this year. But that's been Oklahoma's club for a while now. I mean, they own Bama, and I say that somewhat tongue in cheek, but not really. I mean, they've had their fair share of successes. Bama got them in, I believe it was 2018, but 3 of the last 4 back-to-back seasons in Norman, in Tuscaloosa. What an incredible win for Brent Venables. I think, big picture, he's a guy that you take off the list for next year that starts forming when you start thinking about the jobs and who's got a little bit of heat surrounding them. Venables certainly has had that kind of come and go or just linger around him. And certainly you lose to Texas again and it starts to raise up a little bit. But, I mean, back-to-back absolutely massive wins for them on the road to beat Tennessee and then to turn around and get an even better win and beating Alabama. Well done to BV and to that whole staff. I mean, that defense is freaking incredible. And I know for Sooners fans, it's really refreshing to see after the run that Lincoln Riley had and even Stoops to an extent where offense was the flavor constantly was like, hey, we're going to win games with offense. We're going to win games with offense. Here recently, it's been with defense, and it's been a different kind of taste, but it's been one that goes down really well because it's just fun to just be nasty and physical and beat people up and be the tougher team. And they were on Saturday. And, that was all defense and special teams. I mean, to have a kicker who is basically guaranteed money from 50 plus I know kickers are better these days. You see it in the NFL constantly, but it's still college football kickers. You don't quite know what you're going to get, and they've got a dude who is absolute nails from 50 out. And so a combination of great special teams and great defense carried them the way. I mean, Mateer and the offense didn't do a whole heck of a lot. I mean, they have had their struggles. He's able to pop plays here and there, but they're really not that great offensively. And at the same time, when they need to be, Ben Arbuckle can cook something up that moves the chains or gets them a big play. But this is all defense and special teams on Saturday for the most part, and really the story of them under Brent Venables. And so it's different from Lincoln Riley, but man, it feels good to just see somebody be able to stop somebody and not win 50-45 or have to go that route, but to be able to just like clinch down on an Alabama and be physical and nasty and beat them up. It's just, man, I love it.
They made Simpson uncomfortable pretty quickly. The pick six was huge. And,
huge plays. Yeah.
Like comparing it, look, Alabama's lost 2 games, and similar things happened in each of the games defensively. Early on, Florida State was in Ty Simpson's head, and they knocked him around. They got back there and hit him a lot and got him jumpy, which is really the only way you stop most quarterbacks. But in particular, that's just, the only 2 teams that have really been able to do that with regularity this year. Oklahoma certainly on the upswing right now. And Craig, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. There was some thought if John Mateer had this, ridiculous Heisman campaign year that he'd be gone. I don't see any reason why he's not back at Oklahoma next year right now with a solid NIL deal and possibly some interesting people coming in around him as playmakers, particularly in the offensive line, that they need to get better at and get that running game going. Brent Venables, like you said, has taken the pressure off himself down the stretch here and now can really hit the ground running and looking to build where there's a huge chunk of teams that could get larger in the next couple of weeks in the SEC that won't be able to really hit the ground running.
Yeah, there was definitely lingering questions around Brent Venables and what the future looked like. And now I think that with these last couple of weeks, and especially this Alabama win and being in the playoff hunt and having an opportunity to at least get a chance to get in there, I think you feel great about where you are right now. And I don't think there are much questions at this point about what the future looks like. It's a future with Brent Venables. And, yeah, they need to go build more offensively and just keep building this thing in his vision. But, I've been anticipating that Mateer would be back based on nothing other than just my own assumptions and just kind of reading the lay of the land. I think he would be better served and would still make a whole hell of a lot of money to come back to college for another year, enjoy his time in Norman, and they would be a contender on paper immediately heading into next season because you're going to suspect the defense will be great, and then they're going to bulk up even further offensively. But, there are some things to work out on offense. There is no doubt about that. They've got to be better there. They got saved by their defense and special teams in this one. But Tate Sandell, what a kicker, man. To be able to just rely on a guy to be able to hit from deep, it just is such a game changer for a football team. And instead of having to go for it, especially if your offense is struggling, and it's a real 50-50, debate on whether or not you're going to be able to convert. You say, no, we got a dude who can put 3 points on the board. That's a really nice thing to have in your back pocket. But yeah, this defense is the motor, and that was a hell of a win. And I know Alabama's still going to be fine as far as the big picture goes, but I think that sent them reeling a little bit and was kind of a wake-up call they weren't quite expecting.
All right, real quickly before we're going to get to the next story here with Georgia, Texas. James Franklin apparently has been hired by Virginia Tech. That is breaking news. So we were going to bring up Tech a little bit later when the coaching carousel pretty thick. So James Franklin from Penn State now is going to be the next head coach at Virginia Tech. Georgia bullies Texas. When Texas pulled it within 14-10, I'm thinking, this thing's going to go down to the last second, a field goal, whatever. And then Georgia just put the screws to UT. Texas can't run the ball. They haven't run the ball in 3 games against Georgia. Not many people do. They couldn't run the ball much themselves. Georgia makes these 2 and 3 and 5-yard little flip passes that at the critical times, they had the onside kick. Here's Kirby Smart after the game on the culture he has. They're not flawless, but the culture that they have at Georgia after the win against UT.
Yeah, it's the approach we take. We're gonna dominate and try to win the fourth quarter. It's what we do in practice. It's what we do in the off season. It's what we build our core culture around, is being a more physical team. And you have to recruit physical players, and they have to buy into that process. I don't know that a lot of these kids nowadays, they want to check. They don't want physicality. And if you have the check and no physicality, you end up with nothing. So we're not just getting checks at our place. We're hitting people.
So there's Kirby Smart. They had the onside kick, and then we're going to go back and discuss the game and what happened and what it means for Texas and Georgia. They had the onside kick after they scored, which was worked and perfection. I mean, it was absolutely perfection. Jones got the bounce. He's a Texas kid. And then this was a meme, or whatever you want to call it, about Kirby Smart has big balls. After that, they recovered. Georgia wins the game. I was stunned that it just kept getting worse and worse. 35-10, they beat Texas. UT's third loss of the year, and Georgia now is number 4 overall in the top 25 poll.
Yeah, that's the only thing. That's one of the things I hate about the NFL kickoff rule is we don't get to see stuff like this anymore. The surprise onside kick. And Smokey, would you care to say who talked you down off the ledge on Texas this weekend as well?
Yeah, no, you did. I fell for it again. 10, yep.
You were like, oh, here comes Texas back. I'm like, man, have you watched Georgia at all this year? This is what they do. They kind of like, we're so used to seeing Georgia, or I guess we're used to it. We have this memory in our head of the juggernaut of the back-to-back national championship teams that were just absolute, just a line of tanks just rolling through like crazy. They are not that anymore, but it shows how good of a coach that Kirby Smart is that he's readjusted how they get you, and they get you with physicality. They get you with depth. They get you with, you just keep coming at you and coming at you and coming at you. And once they got Texas back on their heels, it really caused them, I think Texas really started to doubt themselves quite a bit, and they got in this mode where it's like, well, what are we supposed to do? Like, everything was working for them, and it just went on and on and on. That crowd was more and more and more into it. And I mean, it's not going to end the Texas to the playoff discussion, because if they beat A&M, that's going to ratchet back up. But if I'm on the committee and it comes down to splitting hairs between teams at the end of the year, I mean, I think we've seen what we know of Texas is that they're an okay team, but they're not what they were, and they've got a lot of issues. And I'm not sold on them at all as a playoff team, even if they find a way to sneak in and beat A&M later on.
Yeah, I mean, it was a hell of a win for Georgia. And, last week with multiple guests, I asked the question of if you had to pick which upset occurs, Texas at Georgia or Oklahoma at Alabama. I think it was unanimous that everybody picked Texas at Georgia, and instead it was Oklahoma at Alabama that actually ended up being the upset game. And I think from now on, if I ask that question, everybody's going to go Oklahoma at Alabama. Like, let's take Oklahoma in this one. But in this one, we thought if there was going to be an upset, that Texas had the better shot at it. And look, for 3 quarters, it looked like they very well were going to maybe pull it off. They were in the fight still. It was there for the taking if a couple plays go your way. But Georgia just like starting in that late third quarter, but especially that fourth quarter, I mean, they just, they brought out the big balls, the big decisions, the big plays, the big just moments all belong to Georgia in the fourth quarter. And I mean, big fourth downs, big stops, big explosives, and just big decisions like that onside kick that paid off greatly for them. So that was mightily impressive to see them just take a game that was somewhat within reach, somewhat of a close one. And then by the end of it, you're going, wow, this was a blowout. Wow, like this was such a blowout. Like, is Texas knocked out of the playoff, not because they lost, but because you look at the final score and you go, well, they lost by freaking 3 scores. Like, what the hell happened here? This is not what I was watching earlier. So, they took off like a rocket ship, man. And there were a lot of, critical plays. I know you were freaking out. Like, I was sitting next to you in the press box, and they had the Georgia's 4th and 1 at their own 36. Yeah. And they get the big pass play from Gunnar Stockton to Chauncey Bowens. You had the 4th and 5 at midfield. Colin Simmons jumps off sides. Like, there was a lot of critical moments that went Georgia's way. The big Humphreys touchdown, the onside kick, like so on and so forth. Gunnar Stockton played. He had the 1 turnover, but played really well. And, for Texas, I think, they've got to look in the mirror a little bit. I think you're starting to hear a lot of chirping about Sarkisian and him as a coach. I mean, I saw a lot of chatter about does he need to give up the play calling on offense, a lot of just question of like why they can't beat Georgia and this and that. So, yeah, a lot of the typical hand-wringing that you would expect, but this has become a pattern now where Georgia has their number, and it's a big roadblock that they can't seem to get past. And so now you find yourself in a situation where, no, you're not totally eliminated just yet, although if you were named another team, you probably would be. But since you are Texas and you're one of like 10 schools that you can afford a third loss, and I know who their losses are too, so I'm not entirely poo-pooing that, but let's face it, if they were any number of other teams, there's not even a question about are they in or are they not. But because of who they have lost to, there is still an ember burning that perhaps turns into a flame that gets them into the college football playoff. Now, that will have to include beating Texas A&M. That's the only way, but that's entirely possible. So that's still out there for them. But, yeah, that's also in question because they have issues, and it's the offensive line stinks. I mean, it's definitely not to the level that they anticipated, and it's not the level it needs to be at to be the team that they want to be. Excuse me, that be the team that they want to be. So they're going to, I'm sure, go do what they can in the portal and whatnot in the offseason. But, yeah, the offensive line is a big anchor right now for UT, and I think that's where it all starts. Forget, like, oh, well, Arch Manning, Arch Manning, part of his problem is that offensive line. Part of the problem is they can't run the football because of that offensive line. And then you had some big drops as well. So, yeah, Texas has a lot of issues they need to clean up if they want to close this thing strong and find themselves with a chance to reach their ultimate goals. But, yeah, right now they're just a team with 3 losses that's better than most, but they're not great by any means.
I cannot imagine, and this is not an anti-UT thing because the one loss is to Ohio State. We don't know what's going to happen with A&M. They were, for the most part, not blown out, but they were really not all that competitive against Florida, who's unranked, and they were just beaten 35-10. I'll bet at the end the game got out of whack even more by Georgia. Can they still be a part of the picture if they beat A&M, who's ranked 3rd right now? A&M then might have to play in an SEC championship game. They're in no matter what after the comeback. And UT, you're telling me, is still involved? Cody Kellner, who's an analytics guy, told me he thinks they are, and others are saying that too. Should they still be involved?
Well, look, we had Dave Bartu on last week, and we're going to have Dave Bartu on again on Wednesday. And this is the first question I want to ask him is, what do the numbers say about Texas? What do they say about Texas? And look, if the numbers are there for them compared to it, then there's a lot that you can't argue with. But where it comes down to, where I think it should, is if you were talking about not putting, say, a 2-loss Texas Tech in, if they didn't win the Big 12 title game, and putting in a 2-loss BYU over them because you've just decided, well, BYU's Big 12 win cancels out the Tech win, and that knocks Tech out, and then putting in Texas over Tech, then I think that bears some talking about. I think that's where it does. Like, look, if they wind up having, one of the 12 best strength of records and all the numbers that go in and everything is by the book, then that's going to be one thing. But I mean, right now, I don't think that, like, they should come into – if you are discussing Texas this week, it should be, hey, we can put Texas on the back burner until after that A&M game, right? And then they're either going to talk about them or they're going to, write their full obituary.
72 carries for 83 yards for Texas in the last 3 games against Georgia. Yes, Georgia can chew you up and spit you out, but that's got to be incredibly disappointing for Steve Sarkisian, the offense and in the run game.
Yeah, but they haven't been able to run the ball all year.
No.
I mean, it's not like it's just something that started this weekend. I mean, that's been the case this entire year. They are not very good up front. That's their Achilles heel, clearly, and that's the thing they're going to have to address in the offseason, but not something that they can correct this season. So that is what it is, and I think it's hurt Arch. I think it's obviously it's hurt the running game, and overall that's hurt their offense and their ability to be their best version of themselves. So that's something that, maybe some predicted would be the case, but it's something that clearly is the case for them right now as you start to measure them up against other teams, looking at the postseason and the contenders right now in the SEC. And I think the moment we start putting in 3-loss teams, this playoff jumps the shark a little bit. But if they were going to do it, it would be a Texas that they would do it for. It would be a team out of the SEC or the Big Ten. No one else would ever get in as a 3-loss team. I feel very confident saying that. And I understand part of the argument is, hey, lost to 2 top 5 teams. But damn it, they also lost to Florida. And quit trying to pretend that Florida's a good team. They are not a good team.
Nope.
And I keep seeing, Florida is in the swamp. And it's like, so because they were good at one point, once upon a time, like they're getting credit for that. Like I don't give a damn, man. They lost to Florida.
That's that blue chip ratio bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. And so that should hurt a little bit more than just counting that. Oh, well, they lost to 2 top 5 teams and Florida. It's like, well, and Florida needs to ding them. And so I don't think that a 3-loss team should be in the playoff. I think that if a BYU loses 2 games and they're both to Texas Tech, then BYU should be in over Texas. Now, would I take BYU over Texas? I don't know that I would. I would need some more. We would need to fast forward and get there and see where's the game being played, what have they done recently, all that stuff. But as far as like earning your way, that still should be a part of the equation, not power rankings and recruiting rankings and blue chip ratio and all this BS that doesn't have anything to do with the actual results. Based on those things, no, they probably shouldn't be in. But because of who 2 of those losses are to, and because the league they're in, and because of those things being counted as strengths for some, then there is still an avenue to where they could find themselves in. Now, that avenue must include beating Texas A&M, and that's going to be easier said than done. And they've got to play Arkansas before that as well. Now, I don't think that'll be much of an issue for them, especially at home, but they still have 2 games left, so we'll see. But, yeah, if they go beat A&M, there's going to be some deep conversation about them at 3 losses and who they lost to.
Wait till Sankey gets involved, and he will. And I saw 3 articles that came in my inbox over the weekend after Saturday. Is that, will the SEC have 5 or 6 teams inside of the college football playoff? But that's for more discussion tomorrow.
I mean, the thing is, Oklahoma, I don't know what they're going to do as far as they got, games themselves that aren't guarantees by any means. But if they're sitting there with 2 losses, they should be in above Texas. So, how many teams are we talking from? If you get Texas in there, you're something like, 6, 7 SEC teams are going to need to be included to include them. I don't see that, man. I think opening the door to 3-loss teams is that's going to be really tough to walk back from.
If they had lost to Ohio State, they had lost to Georgia, and they had also lost to, let's say, somebody else, Ole Miss or whoever, then I would. And if they have some great wins too. But eventually, losing games should matter whether you have a chance to eventually win a conference and then also be a part of a national championship.
And look, if you just go through the SEC, like you said, Craig, and let's do that so we have it on the record. A&M is going to be no worse than 11-2. Okay, right. So they're in. Ole Miss has the Egg Bowl. Like you're if you just take chalk right away and everything goes as is, A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama, and Oklahoma are pretty much automatically in. And then you get down to does Vanderbilt or Texas get in if they win their last couple of games? But bottom line is they're probably going to have 5 teams no matter what. But if you start getting into the Texas territory, Texas would probably have to be the 7th team in.
There's other teams that if they keep winning, even if they don't play for the SEC title, that obviously have something to do with that as well. But that is something that we'll see what happens. Arkansas, then A&M, and then, of course, the chips fall where they may.
And I know that's going to be the conversation now for them moving forward is do they still have a shot at the playoff? And because they've beaten Oklahoma, they beat Vanderbilt, those kind of balance out a couple of those losses being to top 5 teams as well. So you can see where there's a little ray of light for them to get in, but it does include beating A&M. I think the more interesting thing, because that's going to continue to play itself out for a couple of weeks. That's not going to be this unless they lose to Arkansas, and then that's done, but I don't expect that to happen. So that'll still be out there, but I think the conversation that's also emerging that's very interesting with them is just like the lack of belief in Sark fully the way that it was there the last couple of years at times. And now there's the cracks in the armor of his play calling starting to come under a different type of microscope, and just questions about they can't beat Georgia. They can't get over that hump. And so that's a high pressure job, and losing 2 or 3 games, that'll get you fired. But that's just an interesting kind of thing I'm starting to see grow a little bit more with each loss, is that kind of discussion about Sark, and is he the guy? Can he get us there? This and that. So that's something to watch.
All right. Who had the better win? And I want to get to Tech crushing UCF. They were expected to, but the way they did it, they didn't blink after the huge win at home against BYU. Of these 3 teams, quick note, Who had the best win, the most critical win? USC, Notre Dame, or Navy?
Navy could wind up in the playoff if they keep winning.
I didn't bring them up because they're going to win them.
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah.
I mean, they could be in the playoff if they keep winning. That's pretty critical to them. I think USC continue to march on and move up the standing of the Big Ten is probably the most significant. I think that, and not to knock Pitt, but like they went on this winning streak. They didn't play anybody that was as good as Notre Dame in that winning streak. And then when they played Notre Dame, they got absolutely physically mauled by bigger, better, stronger athletes.
Greg, Notre Dame, USC, or Navy?
Notre Dame. I mean, Notre Dame, because they're just got past a huge test that was on the road, college game day, a lot of pomp and circumstance around that, and we know that they don't have any room for error. As mighty as Notre Dame might be, like they have no choice but to win out to make the playoffs. So they had to win that game, or else we were going to see a big void. That would have been really interesting to talk about, but we're not going to be able to talk about it. So, yeah, them there at number 9, and now you feel great about them winning out with what they have remaining. So, for me, yeah, it was Notre Dame going to Pitt and ensuring basically their spot in the playoff. I think they booked it this past weekend.
I absolutely, no question, feel like that was one of like the last check point for them, and they handled their business very, very well. Now, Big 12, Texas Tech annihilates UCF, and they were expected to do that. But coming off such an emotional weekend with game day and the game with BYU, you never know. They never gave UCF a chance. They stepped on their neck and broke it immediately. And Joey McGuire and company continue to cruise while BYU jumps back and gets themselves some momentum by beating TCU. And TCU is another story we'll have for later in the day because there seems to be the bloom off of Sonny Dykes right now.
I mean, Texas Tech, I didn't have any surprise whatsoever. They did what they did to UCF. I think those are two programs that are playing in different pools right now, and I would love to see the millions of dollars in gap between personnel, just players, just players-wise, what the rosters look like. I have a feeling that there's a chance that like just Tech's portal class alone, not even the rest of their roster, probably costs more than UCF's roster as a whole. So there was a massive talent disadvantage going into this game for UCF, and just the way that the Red Raiders are rolling, being at home, they're playing at a really high level. I mean, there was no reason to ever doubt that this was going to be a Texas Tech win. There was no reason to ever believe there was a possible stumble here. They would have had to have played just an impossibly bad game for this to have been a scenario where they fell and suffered a second loss. So, yeah, I was not surprised to see them crush the Knights. I think Scott Frost and company got a lot of stuff to work on. And, again, they're kind of in just two different leagues right now, it feels like. But good of Tech to handle their business. They are a really good team, and I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of noise they can continue to make. I mean, they are not officially, but all but booked to Arlington at this point, and so is BYU. Really nice win for BYU. It kicked TCU's ass. And TCU, yeah, we're going to get to them and some of their bigger picture questions, but the Cougars looked really, really solid, as they typically have. I mean, really the only team to give them really any sort of resistance was Texas Tech and then Utah as well. But besides those two, I mean, BYU's been rolling, and they did have what was the close call? Was it Colorado? That was a close game early on.
And Arizona's
a close game, but I mean, they've been sturdy all throughout this season. And so, that was a really nice win. I did not anticipate it being anywhere close to like an upset scenario. I just don't believe in TCU that way.
No.
But I was still surprised that BYU beat them as badly as they did.
I thought maybe Hoover would have one of those days, but that there's a lot of angst right now with Sonny Dykes and TCU, and there's even now discussion about his assistants, et cetera, which happens. They can fool you, TCU, but they were never in that game. Go ahead.
I think that what happened down this I-35 W down to here, I guess we're with the two teams in it. TCU and Baylor are, and there's differences to it, but they're very similar in the way that things go, in that they both got completely out-physicaled. I know Baylor hung around with Utah for a while to maybe think if they woke up, like they could make a game of it for parts of that game, but ultimately Utah and BYU were so far past TCU and Baylor, I kind of felt like you were just watching, kind of the same game with different uniforms and the way that the emotion went around it at the, later on in the day.
Baylor gets drilled by Utah. This game, Craig and I were there. It was never close. Utah ran. They had a pick six. They had nearly 2 pick six. They ran through them. Ficklin was amazing. Utah dominated this game. It got worse and worse and worse as the game went on. And the clock is ticking, although still ticking, on Dave Aranda and his future. And after the game, he was taking questions. A lot of it was about scheme and this and disappointment, and then also about his future. He answered that, didn't really answer it, and said he had to focus and could not let outside noise in. So today at his press conference, I asked him a little bit more about what's going on with his career and also his future at Baylor. Dave, Mac hired you, and he extended you. And there's 2 weeks left in the season. Have you had any talks with the administration or anybody about the future? And do you expect to be here not only the next 2 weeks, but into the future?
Yeah, I appreciate that question, but our focus is just on right now and winning. There's nothing else really matters. I mean, for any chance at anything, I have to do my best, and our team has to do our best. And I'm just thinking, like, for our fans, I'm thinking for our players and their families. I'm thinking for everyone that wants to don a BU something on a Saturday. We have to play better than what we're playing. And, if I can get the football better, I really believe all the other stuff will work out and it will be however it'll be. And I put my faith in it. But the football's got to get better. So that's what I'm focused on.
All right, we have seen David Aranda. Garrett had a tweet today. He covers Baylor for 247 Sports and obviously a part of this show with Brandon, Logan, and Andrew as well. Made a comment about, listen, there's a lot of people who are trying to shit down Dave Aranda's neck. He doesn't deserve that. You can question his coaching. You can question the future. You can question whether he's the guy or not, all that. He's an unbelievable person. But the football program has been like an elevator going up a floor, down a floor, up a floor, down a floor. It's in a bad situation. He could be the nicest person in the world. You could love him to death, wish you were your brother, your father, your uncle, whatever. But the football part of it is an absolute mess.
Yeah, and look, that's the best answer he could have given in that regard. And I believe him. I don't think it's coach speak. I don't think Dave really has that button like other coaches do. But I just don't see a path forward for Baylor where their fans get on board, given everything that's going on with Mac Rhodes and now how you can, move forward with Dave Aranda. I think that a decision's going to be made. And I think the worst decision that Baylor could make is, well, the coaching carousel's crazy right now. Our athletic director situation is very in flux. We don't have a resolution on that, so we're not going to do anything now and just let it linger. I think that would be irresponsible of Baylor. I think they probably need to make that change, because if they roll out next year, no matter who the new athletic director is going to be, and tell people, here come Dave Aranda and you're fighting Baylor Bears, they're not going to be telling a lot of people that inside that stadium.
Yeah, I think it's done, man. I think it has to be done. There's no one thing that you can even cling on to. I put out a tweet on Saturday night as well. We were at the game, me, Smokey, we're at the game, and I had to reword it because I wasn't trying to be super critical, but I was just trying to get to the heart of the matter, and I think I eventually did. And I said, so the basic gist of it was, if you bring him back next year, what are you promoting? What are you showing to people that to get them excited about Baylor football? Because Sawyer Robertson, he technically has a year of eligibility left. But what's he going to do? Come back and throw for 400-plus yards? Oh, wait, he's doing that already this year. What's he going to do? Throw a bunch of yards and a bunch of touchdowns and lead the country in various passing categories? He's doing that right now, and it's making no difference whatsoever. So you can't build off of, oh, well, Sawyer's back. He can't do any more than he's doing now. He was not good on Saturday night either. He was very inconsistent. Yep. That did not help matters. He was wildly inaccurate at times. So he has not been perfect either. But even when he's been good, it's not good enough to put you over the top. So he's not your savior. And I think that he's more likely to probably go try out the NFL waters rather than come back to Baylor for another year that doesn't look like it's going to be any better than the year he just played in. Beyond that, all of your receivers are leaving. Your Cole Wilson's, Michael Trick's gone. He's going to get drafted to the NFL. Ashton Hawkins is gone. Josh Cameron's gone. Like, all those dudes are gone. You have a running back in Bryson Washington and another guy coming off injury in Dawson Pendergrass that, I mean, might be pretty good for you, but I bet Washington's getting calls right now all over the place, trying to get him to jump into the transfer portal. And then most of all, you suck on defense, dude. You suck on defense. And this is a Dave Aranda coach team. So let's look at that game the other night. That game actually was relatively close at times. And part of the reason why was because a group of students actually made the game interesting by following the Oklahoma State trend, the Section 231 or however you want to talk about it trend. A couple of guys worked their way up into the upper deck. Now, the crowd was actually not bad for what I was expecting.
Yeah,
I was thinking it was going to be like
a whiteout, and it worked. It worked.
I mean, I don't know. There's a bunch of people dressed in white, but like the upper deck bowl was pretty much empty. But in the near end zone, suddenly, slowly, surely, these guys start matriculating to the point where there's this mass of shirtless guys following the Oklahoma State trend, and they were making crazy noise, and they were actually like lifting this team. But what would end up happening? You pull within 7, you give up a 67-yard touchdown run. You pull within 11, you give up a 64-yard touchdown run. You pull within 8, you give up a 74-yard touchdown run. Dude, 67, 75, 64, yep. All when you're getting within like a single score. It just broke the spirit. It broke the spirit of those guys, but thank you for them for at least making that game entertaining and giving some people something to kind of cling on to. And for a second there, the defense got like a stop, and you're like, whoa, like they might actually kind of be onto something here.
Everybody take your shirt off right now.
And then they immediately gave up a 60-plus yard touchdown run, and it was like, oh, never mind.
In fact, this is Craig and I, we noticed, you could kind of hear this noise, and you could see these bodies and these guys walking up to the third level. Here's the video that what Greg is talking about.
That was like 3 people originally.
Yeah,
that
it
section was
out
empty.
Just like Oklahoma State about 5 or 7 weeks ago. There were 2 to 5 or 10, and then 50 to 100, then 500 or whatever it was when you saw that right there.
Yeah, that section was empty. Then a couple guys are there, and the next thing you know, just like over the course of like a few minutes, like that turned into that. And then like during the commercial breaks, they were going crazy, and it was fun, dude. It was like the most fun that I've had at that stadium in a while. I was glad I went simply for that. So hats off to those of you who got that started. Hats off to Oklahoma State, the trendsetters there. You're seeing that all over the country, but yeah, they tried to will them back into that game, and they actually kind of did for like a half a second, and then the defense just immediately let them down. They also had a series where the offense, had they punched it in, it would have made things interesting, but instead they had to settle for a field goal, and it kind of killed some of the air. But shout out to Bird Ficklin, man. I mean, what the hell? 6 carries, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was an incredible threat on Saturday night. They've got a bright future with Bird Ficklin there in Utah, and that was a good win for the Utes, just taking care of their business. But the story coming out of that one for me is not only does Utah just kind of remain where they are, and their percentage, they can't get to Arlington basically at this point. It's almost impossible, but they are going to be in the conversation for like a 12th spot maybe if they win out. But so shout out to them for that. But yeah, the story coming out of that one is Baylor's got to make a move, man. Like they can't run this back and try to go, all right, fans, get excited for 2026. Get excited about what? Get excited about what? So that's where I am with it all right now.
And I think you're seeing that a lot. Like there used to be certain benchmarks that a coach could hit to maybe keep his head above water for a year. But now things are so evident and things move so fast, which is, what part of the thing about in the coaching contract discussion that we've had all year. I know we need to take our first break. My gosh. But, there's this whole thing where they, coaches want these 8-year contracts. Used to have an 8-year contract, right? So you could have some time to build up recruits, clean out the old ones and build the talent there. Well, that's not the case anymore. So you're not going to be able to sell fans on just give me more time when there are shorter paths to having a dominant team than there were before.
He's already had a couple of those, like make a bowl game and you last a little while longer. But Utah ran for 380 yards.
It's the third
380 yards.
Second 300-yard game Auburn did too, right? And they're 100 and what did I say last week? 111th or 12th against the run, and they're probably about 115 or 20 right now. It's been that way since the opening game against Jackson Arnold, who's not even starting right now for Auburn and the Tigers. When we come back, we'll get into a couple of other notes, including some coaching carousel news. We've touched on some of them. James Franklin's official, Virginia Tech, and more. This is 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, lowt.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, used to be. As you get older, 1 out of every 3 or 4 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone, and maybe that's you. And if it is, it could be just flat out your energy's not the same. You just don't feel right. Something's missing. Yes, there's also the sex drive, and there's also the performance if you have that. That's the way it is too. So Dr. Kent Petty can help find out if all of that is from your testosterone level dropping. Contact him, pettycliniclowt.com. They will set you up to get your blood work, take care of that, get the results, and if your testosterone level is too low, he can put you in a program so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. Dr. Kent Petty at pettycliniclowt.com.
Batteries Plus has teamed up with the Dallas Cowboys as the team's official battery recycling partner. Batteries Plus doesn't just sell batteries, they recycle them too. Customers can bring in old lithium batteries from power tools, power banks, and small electronics for a chance to win Cowboys tickets, a VIP experience, and more at qualifying locations. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
That's my go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf car batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com.
Golfballs.com carries the latest selection of golf balls, clubs, and gear from brands such as Titleist, TaylorMade, and Callaway. Golfballs.com remains the world leader in golf customization. And of course, online at golfballs.com.
UBO Business Services. We are a studies-based service organization that is the best in Texas when it comes to copiers, printers, and scanners. The way we quantify that is through a company used by millions of corporations called Net Promoter Score. What Net Promoter Score looks at are your Google reviews. We have a better Net Promoter Score than H-E-B with a 65 and Ritz-Carlton Hotels with a 70. According to Net Promoter Score, if you're a 70 or above, you're considered world-class in customer service. UBO Business Services is an 86 when it comes to Net Promoter Score. You can find us at ubeo.com, ubeo.com.
You don't want to miss our best price deals during the Black Friday sales event at Allen Samuels. This month, you can save big on the truck you've been looking for, like the new Rams. Designed to be durable, functional, and stylish, Ram trucks give you that first-class feel. With premium options like luxurious leather trim seating, surround view cameras, and more. Shop our great selection in-store or online today. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, raise your cholesterol, and cause weight gain. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results. So if you're tired of being tired, call or go online at pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $165 a month, including lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, and follow-up visits, compared to $300 or more a month in Dallas or Austin. And you don't have to drive 90 miles one way or the other and fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations and will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone. Contact Petty Clinic Low T for increased energy, improvement in sexual desire and performance, mood, concentration, even a decrease in body and belly fat. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, pettycliniclowt.com.
It's football
football season, and we can create your outdoor tailgating spaces that is actually a part of your home. Bifold doors that tie in the inside and the outside, and you can gain anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 square feet living space, all while taking in the big game, poolside. Call us at Gather & Co. Kitchen and Bath, where we can create your unique tailgating space.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Got floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels. We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
We'll have North Texas Director of Athletics, Jared Mosley, today at 4. Andy Staples on 3 at 4:25, 4:30. Phil Bennett today at 5 o'clock. So we mentioned the name and also the story. James Franklin, Virginia Tech. He does not stay unemployed long. In fact, he's still supposed to be coaching Penn State. We know he's not. And Brent Pry is out at Virginia Tech. And, of course, James Franklin. That's a great hire for me. If I'm Virginia Tech, I like that. I didn't know if it'd be, with all due respect, at an even higher level with some of the other openings. But he lands on his feet at Virginia Tech.
I think that given, where he's most comfortable with, recruiting that part of the country, and look, he's going to recruit everywhere, but you maybe can't recruit everywhere like you can at Penn State. I think it's a great fit for Virginia Tech. That style of football that he plays, I mean, it's very similar. Like, it's the modern version of Beamer ball. I don't know about the special teams. I don't know if anybody can ever really kind of recreate the amount of block kicks and kick returns that happened at Virginia Tech under Frank Beamer, but the power run the ball, defense that gets after the quarterback like maniacs. That's the style that won at Virginia Tech under Frank Beamer. And the ACC, it is wide open now every year. There are two schools of thought in that, you've got some big schools that are just kind of in a temporary bad way, or that's who they are now. And the ACC is going to be very fluid. It should not take him too long to contend in that league and at least get to Charlotte in the conference title game more often than he got to the Big Ten title game.
Well, I think it's an excellent on-paper hire for Virginia Tech. I don't think anybody will debate that, but I don't think that it just guarantees anything. I mean, a lot of people thought that Jonathan Smith was a home run hire for Michigan State, and we can make a list of 1,000 names where people thought that they'd be great where they are, only for them to not be great. But I think on paper, this is, as good as you could have done if you're a Virginia Tech. And I think their fans here, now that it's all confirmed, have to be just through the roof about what they're going to be able to start experiencing as he tries to build up this program. Saw where just a little while ago, Penn State lost a big recruit. And I don't know if that's a Franklin effect, as in they're going to land that recruit, or if it's just more fallout from Franklin being gone. But, yeah, he's going to be in on some of those top Penn State guys he already had relationships with. I think he'll be able to scrounge together a really solid recruiting class. And I think the guy knows what he's doing, and I think that not having the same amount of immense pressure as he's had in Happy Valley here recently will probably be a nice recharge and a reset for him. And there will still be expectations, obviously, to win, but I think he's in a place that's a really nice spot to land given where you just were. And so I love the hire for Virginia Tech. Love the landing for James Franklin, and congrats to the Hokies on filling a big vacancy that was out there on the board.
You mentioned special teams, a quick note, and then we get to the Oklahoma State, what or who might be at least be their next guy or targeting or a part of their search to replace Mike Gundy, which has been a long, long time. Frank Beamer's teams at Virginia Tech blocked 83 kicks. They also gave up a few, but they had almost a 3-to-1 ratio in block kicks, including one year they blocked 12. The year that I think they played Florida State for the national championship.
1999?
Well, 98 they had 12. 99 they did not. So there we are with what he did. Good for James Franklin to land in a spot at Virginia Tech. Now, Oklahoma State, still, what's happening with them? Mike Gundy's been out for quite some time. USF, after the loss to Navy and out of the college football playoff picture. This is from Carson OKC, expecting to put a full court press on Alex Golesh. Multiple sources telling me that he is Oklahoma State's top candidate to replace Mike Gundy.
I love that hire. I like what Alex Golesh has done at USF, and I think he brings the kind of offense that's fun. I think he's good with quarterbacks. He coached with Josh Heupel at Tennessee, so he's been in some big time situations there, and I would think that's another really good hire for Oklahoma State, and would be good news for other places that maybe want to hire Eric Morris.
Well, it's not a hire yet.
But yeah,
I mean, it's who they're focusing in on. So just to be clear there, but yeah, it would be a great hire if that's in fact the hire they're able to make. I think Alex Golesh has more than just one team ringing his phone right now, though. So we'll see how others pursue him and how much of a mix of teams there are to get him. But he's been at Oklahoma State previously as an assistant, and a name that makes sense because he knows the lay of the land. And he's also just a really good football coach. So they've been linked to Zach Robinson, obviously the connection there. Eric Morris, a rising name for especially teams here in the Southwest, given his background. And there's been a couple of others that have been bandied about. But I think if you were to tell me that Oklahoma State could go land Alex Golesh and he's their top choice, yeah, I'd believe that, and I'd be astounded for them. I think that would be a terrific hire. I thought he'd be a guy that was perhaps, with the way these SEC chips fall in line, to maybe go get the Auburn job or something like that, depending on, again, how that all starts to unfold, which we're waiting on a decision now in Oxford, Mississippi, to at least tell us which way these dominoes are going to go. Is there suddenly no longer a vacancy in Gainesville or Baton Rouge, or is there suddenly a vacancy in Oxford? Like, what does that look like? But if he can land in Stillwater and Oklahoma State's able to get their top choice, then I think that would be just excellent for them and a real good boost for the Big 12 as well, to see them land a really good coach that can hopefully get them back in the mix, because when they're in the mix, things are a lot better league-wise, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's the Kiffin thing. It looks like about the time he's cooled that down, then something else flares up. And until those other jobs are, I guess, filled, it will be that way most likely until, of course, he also maybe signs even another extension.
Well, with Lane Kiffin, I mean, this is just released today, and you can move on from Alex Golesh now, Brandon. But with Lane Kiffin, reports are his family's been at Gainesville and LSU over the weekend in Baton Rouge, and Ole Miss wants an answer. Their clarity towards the end of this week, because they're possibly going to the playoff, and this is maybe the most Lane Kiffin way for this all to go. And then after the game, you saw him say, I love Ole Miss. I love what we're doing here. But then he was like, well, it's just inappropriate to talk about all that other stuff right now. So he has not put any Ole Miss fan at ease with what's going on.
No, there's a lot of rumors flying, and yeah, I don't know. I saw somebody say that maybe Josh Pate was the first. I know he doesn't do a lot of reporting necessarily, but maybe he mentioned something on a show. So if so, then give proper credit there. I know that Pete Nakos and the On3 guys also had some of the updates as well on this whole Lane Kiffin situation. But yeah, talk of basically a line being drawn in the sand, perhaps as early as the end of this week, where there are some indications that Ole Miss could say, like, hey, we need a decision. We need to know what you're doing so we can move on. And even to the point of some speculation, and I don't know how rooted it is in actual fact, but some of the speculation is that they could in fact say, well, if you're not going to give us a decision, then you're not going to coach us in the CFP, which would be pretty extreme. But you know what? I can understand it from their point of view. This is like have him get all the glory on his way out of town, whereas you need a decision on whether you're going to go line up your donors to further invest in what he's doing, or if you guys need to start figuring out who you need to go hire as your next head football coach to try to maintain where you are right now. So, yeah, this is getting prickly very quickly. Ole Miss starting to get a little anxious, and rightfully so. And, yeah, there's a lot of planes being tracked that are flying around going from Oxford to Baton Rouge multiple times now. And so, yeah, there's a lot of discussion out there swirling around Lane Kiffin. And I think part of the reason Ole Miss has to give an ultimatum is because he's the type of guy that's going to lean to it and just soak it all in and make it even messier at all as possible if he can. So I don't blame the Rebs one bit for going, if they in fact do here pretty soon, dude, you got to tell us yes or no. Are you back or not? We got to make a choice.
Yeah, I really thought that he was going to end up remaining at Ole Miss, and just some of the documentaries or some of the features I've seen on him, And then there's also this one. And then we take a break and come back with North Texas AD Jared Mosley. Mike Elko, this was reported, I think, prior to the game Saturday when A&M came back from 30-3 down to beat South Carolina. Here's a picture. Elko and his wife said, we ain't going nowhere. This was later on Saturday evening. Elko and his wife signing the new contract with A&M. Good for him. Good for Texas A&M. They survived. Now they get Samford. They'll win that game. And then, of course, get ready for that game in Austin against the University of Texas.
Yeah, I think it's a logical move by Texas A&M. I mean, I'm always a little leery these days, especially look at the Brian Kelly buyout situations and things like that of rewarding a guy too quickly and exorbitant contracts just really being an albatross around your neck, even though I know A&M has a lot of money. But I think that he just fits there. He fits the culture there far better than a Jimbo Fisher or a Kevin Sumlin did. He's a winner. They're winning big. And certainly they wouldn't have announced this or had this tweet out there after the South Carolina game had that lead held. But since they were able to make the comeback, I mean, this was just the cherry on top of a great Saturday for the Aggies out there. And I think he's the right coach for them at the right time. And very intrigued by how they finish this thing on out. I mean, is there a national championship waiting in the wings? I don't know, but they're going to have as good of a crack at it as anybody else at this point. So, reward a guy who's taken you to places you haven't really been and giving you the feelings that you haven't really felt in a really long time, if in some case ever. So, no shock to see them reward him, and good on him for not playing the coaching game and just putting ink to paper and getting this thing done and getting back to business.
They had a dominant run under R.C. Slocum towards the end of the Southwest Conference, and then won Big 12 title in 1998. And we're in Big 12 title games before that. There was this team called Nebraska that ate their lunch a time before that. But in all that time, Jackie Sherrill, in my lifetime, Jackie Sherrill, R.C. Slocum, every other coach since Slocum, there's not been at least an individual team that is this good on campus at College Station. And R.C. Slocum had some really, really talented teams and really, really stud players, but they don't have many weaknesses. They have a couple, one of which is going to get him is going to be the kicker, but they are just amazing.
Yeah.
And can win any kind of way they need to.
They have Samford, and then they have Texas, and then they have probably an SEC championship game. But after last week, one step at a time, don't take anything for granted. Jared Mosley, Director of Athletics at the University of North Texas. First time since 1959 the football team is ranked. We'll discuss that with him, Andy Staples, Phil Bennett, and more. This is 365 Sports. And inside the Baylor Club, no football game for another couple of weeks, and they kind of decompressed today and probably had a pretty good showing when it comes to brunch and breakfast and more on Sunday. But the Baylor Club has memberships available for you. All you have to do is go inside McLean Stadium off I-35. They'll have a big couple of events to get ready for, including their tailgate when they play Houston Baylor in the last week of the season. And it will be the last week of the regular season for Baylor. Now, what do they have? A new menu, a new updated lunch and dinner menu. Their top chefs have worked hard for that. They have great food, great amenities, great places to host anything you want during the holidays, whether it's for your family, business, or more. The Baylor Club, Nick Caldwell, the new general manager inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in Waco.
I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
No car payments for 90 days when you bring your auto loan home to Genco. Get 4.79% for 48 months and make no payments until 2026. Plus, get entered to win 3 months of no car payments. Bring your auto loan home to Genco. Lower your interest rate, save money, and no payments until 2026. For details, go to GencoFCU.org.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
We will have a section later in this 4 o'clock hour to kind of look deeper into the AP Top 25 poll. But one thing we saw yesterday when it came out was that the University of North Texas, the Mean Green, first time since 1959 ranked in the top 25. Eric Morris, who's joined this show, and UNT having a hell of a run. There's the AD, Director of Athletics, and Jared Mosley joining Craig and Paul. I'm David Smoak. What is it like right now on the campus in Denton, Texas?
Tell you what, it's been a phenomenal year. I mean, just so many firsts for our program. Super excited for Coach Morris and his staff and these student athletes. You look at, I think anytime you come on board and the rebuilding process, you do have to commit to doing that. It's not a one-year process, and these guys have done a great job putting us in a position to continue to capitalize on some amazing opportunities in our program. So getting ranked is a big one. Had our first sellout this year of our stadium, which was huge. Just continue to do monumental things here. So super excited for Coach and his staff.
You had during that sellout, though, that was kind of a mixed bag because you had the rough game against South Florida. What does it say about Coach Morris and the team that they did not let them derail that these last 4 weeks? And since then, you've maybe even been better than you were before that game.
No, it's a testament to Coach. He's done a great job. I think anytime you have a loss like that on a day that was also an emotional high, and you're able to bounce back is huge. And then I just think as this season goes on, I mean, the hardest thing to do in this day and age is to really dial in and put all the distractions aside and all the stuff you're seeing and reading about week to week and staying focused on the task at hand. And, I think looking back at that South Florida game too, I mean, you look at that, it was, for those who followed it, it was really a 4.5 minute stretch in that game where we just had a lot of adversity that we did not respond well to, but came out in that game and competed well. And so I think this group and just the leadership we've got on this team, they know they can compete at the highest level, and look forward to finishing out these last 2 weeks of the regular season strong.
This All-American Conference has got some stiff competition now, doesn't it? I mean, there's a lot of fun races across the country. I think we're seeing parity kind of take over college football for better or worse. We'll see, but certainly it's making for some interesting storylines out of the American right now.
No, and I think that's a credit to our commissioner, Tim Pernetti, and you just look at the institutions in this conference. I mean, a lot of people are doing everything they can to invest at the highest level and try to close that gap between where we currently are and a lot of these Power 4 programs are. But, it's been a great year, a lot of great coaches in this league now, and certainly had proven as we come down to the finish that there's multiple teams that deserve this opportunity to compete in this championship.
You got some attention with being ranked, Jared, but can you try to put into words, even with the success the season's been so far, can you put into words if you were a part of that group of the 12 teams in the college football bracket?
I mean, my plea to them, listen, I think when you look at what our conference has done, we're certainly deserving of that spot. And, I think, the tough part is you try to schedule in a way where you can put your teams in a position with a resume. You never know exactly how teams are going to shake out from year to year. Take, for instance, when we scheduled our Washington State game, they were in the Pac-12, and that was certainly a different game that we ended up playing as opposed to when it was scheduled. But all you can do is compete in the games you're scheduled and do your best there. And I think when you look at Coach Morris, certainly our offensive ranks across the category speaks for itself. I mean, the number one scoring offense in the country, certainly electric. We've got some phenomenal talent on our roster, a good mix of, veteran and young talent. Skylar Cassidy and what he's brought on the defensive side of the ball certainly put us in position to capitalize on what our strength is, which is create more opportunities for our offense. And, they're near the top of the country in turnovers forced. And I think when you match up what Coach Morris can do on the offensive side with a defense that can hold and give you extra possessions, it certainly lines up well for the Mean Green.
Well, it all just depends on how this thing finishes with you and Navy and Tulane, among others. Is it exciting even to be a part of that conversation? Because somebody, it looks like from the American, it appears, is going to be a part of that 12-team playoff.
No, I listen. I think we put ourselves in a great position, and I think when you look at the strength of schedule, I know there's some other quality football programs in other conferences, but I know, the program that a lot of people are talking about above us, if you look at their schedule, they only have one win against, a team above 500. And you certainly look at the strength and the gauntlet that our teams have to play week after week after week. So I do feel like those at the top, whoever comes out, the top two here are going to have a great opportunity to represent, at the CFP.
Jared, what have you learned about running a department at a non-power school that is it's a massive school? I mean, North Texas is not, it's not just a little dot on the map in Denton, Texas. I mean, it's a big school. A lot of students go there. You have a lot of amenities. You have a big football stadium. You have all of these things. You're in a great recruiting area, but the challenges of it in this era of the transfer portal and the power conferences trying to run away and hide.
I think it's a testament to our leadership on campus. I mean, we have a chancellor and Chancellor Williams, our president, Dr. Harrison Keller, board. I mean, when you look at the alignment here and everybody's belief in how do we maximize this platform we have at North Texas to shine a brighter light on the great things happening across our campus in Denton, it certainly has put us in a good spot. There's still a significant gap between us and these power conferences, but I can tell you, our goal is to try to be at the top of this next tier, which is a significant gap between the rest of those in the group of five. And so I feel like we've got a great plan in place. Our campus has been ultra supportive. The community's really stepped up this year and put us in a position where we can continue to grow and realize our potential here in the American Conference.
I think a lot of people in Texas know what a kind of a hidden gem, so to speak, Denton is, but how would you describe the hidden gem for people that don't understand when they hear Denton, Texas? Like just how cool of a town and just, how much of a fun place it can be.
Hey, Denton's got its unique identity. I mean, you've got Dallas, you've got Fort Worth, but, UNT for almost 46,000 students. So, a large campus community. You look at Denton County's probably one of the top 5 fastest growing counties in the entire country. I mean, significant growth just in our footprint over the next 5 to 10 years. You look at just the quality of life we have in Texas in general, but certainly in DFW, like it's got a lot of great perks. And I think when you look at trying to compete on the athletic stage, you've got to have the athletes to compete at the highest level, and DFW is talent rich as well as just being in the state of Texas. So I feel our coaches and our staff and Coach Morris certainly have done a great job making sure we keep those pipelines going and maximize just all the exciting growth happening here in Denton.
How have you and Eric remained in contact, and obviously knowing that when you are successful, that other people want what you have that are making you successful, including Jared, even maybe you? How do you handle all the outside noise? It's positive, but how do you handle it?
It's great. I got to give Eric a ton of credit. We came into this thing together when I got this job. He was my first hire, and we talk almost every day, and we've been completely transparent with each other as we've kind of walked through these last few weeks. And listen, when you're at our level, you hire great people. They're going to have opportunities to continue to grow themselves. That's a much better scenario for us than being in the alternative where things aren't going well and you're having to make those decisions. But I just appreciate Eric. He's been one of the best coaches I've had the opportunity to work with. And I think when you look at a place like North Texas, where we aren't at the pinnacle of the resource pyramid right now, like he's been able to come in every day, roll his sleeves up. He gets to work. He meets with donors. He's in the trenches with you. And, I appreciate that, because a lot of places that's not the case. And you can get in situations where, coaches expect you to solve a lot of their problems. But he's been right there with me along the way. And so just it's been a phenomenal year for us. Really excited for him, because I know how much work he's put into this, he and his staff over the last couple of years to get to this point, and look forward to seeing us stay dialed in these last 2 weeks and see where we go from here.
Well, one of the things you have to do, I know, is you can't. You've got to find a coach that can really find talent, because when the money starts flying around, some of the guys that in other times you might even be able to say, "Hey, come here. You're from 30 minutes from here. Your parents can come to every game." All those things kind of go out the window in modern recruiting. One of the things with Coach Morris is he is unbelievable at finding talent where nobody else really sees it. Your quarterback, Drew Mestamaker, is the prime example of it. But he, in his resume, as a matter of fact, if I was hiring him, if I was in your position, that would be the first thing that jumped out at me, is like, how do you do it with finding kids that have this talent and then developing it where other people have just zipped on right by and gone down another highway?
No, and I think that's a testament. I mean, listen, these first few years, everybody was trying to figure out, how do you navigate just the recruiting cycle. Like it's definitely different now than it was 4 or 5 years ago. I think Coach Morris has done a great job. I mean, his knack for finding offensive talent's been significant. I think when you look at our ability, even on the defensive side of the ball, bringing Skylar Cassidy, he basically brought his entire staff from Sam, brought a number of players with them that kind of anchor our defense this year. Like, you have to find the recipe that fits and works for you. And, I think one of the things in this landscape that has really benefited North Texas is while we've lost a number of players to bigger opportunities and things that they want to chase, for their career, we've also been the beneficiary of the portal as well. And, I think one of the things that we've really dialed into here is you look at the number of young men on our roster who have accumulated meaningful snaps and have played meaningful reps. It may not have been at group of 5 level or power 5 level, but it's been, they've been key difference makers on their rosters, whether it was Division II, junior college. And so I think Coach and his staff have done a great job of being able to figure out, how do we put a product on the field that can compete? Because as you can see in the American, like there's no easy weeks. You've got to be every week. You got to prep and have the talent level that can compete. And just really proud of the work our coaches have done to put us in a spot to be able to retool this year.
Jared, last question for me. You were our Hall of Famer, Abilene Christian. You also were a part of the athletics department for a long time. Then you took that small little but important step to the Texas Sports Hall of Fame before going to join Ren Baker, et cetera, at North Texas. What was that 2 years or so? How much did that benefit you now with the Texas Sports Hall of Fame here in Waco?
You know what? It was great on a couple of fronts. I mean, I think, just the people, for me to spend the early part of my career when I had a young family and kids, leading an athletic department, that's a challenge to juggle the responsibilities there. And so, the 2 years there were incredible. Just to be able to kind of recharge and spend that time with family. But we really connected and loved our time in Waco. Still have a number of friends there that we're really close to, and still get down there when we can to visit a few folks. But, I think when you look at the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, I think the thing that really opened my eyes to was, the thing that I feel I've been fortunate to do each of my stops is, you want to build a following. You need to have people who are willing to jump in the boat with you to help you achieve potential and realize potential. And, certainly going to the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, the Waco community, and then just the doors that opened across the state to just highlight the phenomenal history we have across all sports in Texas, and that rich history and tradition was just fantastic, and the ability to meet a lot of great people there that have certainly continued to be good friends along the way since we left there back. And man, it's hard to believe, almost nine and a half years ago.
I know,
but just a lot of great memories, great people, and really enjoyed our time there.
Jared, thank you very much. Continued luck with what's happening with football, but throughout the athletic department. We'll talk to you again soon. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Always good seeing you guys.
You too. Jared Mosley, Director of Athletics at the University of North Texas, was a hell of a basketball player at Abilene Christian and ran the Texas Sports Hall of Fame for a couple of years. On his football program, ranked for the first time since 1959 and in the chase to win the American. And then there's James Madison, who's out there that's not a part of the American, that's very much a part of that discussion with the group of 5 spot in the playoffs.
Group of 6.
Group of 6. That's exactly right. Group of 6.
But by the way, it's kind of wild to me that they didn't sneak in when they had Mean Joe Green. Like usually when you have a player of that caliber, like sometimes you have teams that are good enough to get ranked. But it's a tough thing for schools like North Texas.
No, it is. And what Eric Morris has done, Craig brought that up, and I forgot who the guest was about his recruiting, his eye for quarterbacks. And you look at that resume, that makes everybody salivate.
Yeah, Cam Ward, Baker Mayfield, Drew Mestemaker, obviously, and who else was on there? John Mateer. Yeah, John Mateer as well. So not a bad list of got Patrick Mahomes. I nearly forgot him. So Mahomes, Mateer, Ward. He's a wizard with identifying and recruiting and partially to fully developing quarterbacks. So we'll see. Mestemaker's still a young player. I think I've seen some detractors of his just as this whole conversation around UNT versus other teams in the American, people calling Mestemaker overrated or a system quarterback or this or that, but that doesn't take away from what is a tremendous story. And they've been really fun outside that USF blemish. And I look forward to seeing them down this stretch of how much noise they can continue to make. But I know a lot of UNT grads, a lot of them are in the media throughout the state of Texas and beyond. They have a big-time journalism school that produces as much of the media as UT does probably in this state. And I know that they are a very proud fandom right now, and deservedly so.
All right, when we come back, Andy Staples on 3 on James Franklin and Virginia Tech, along with what will happen, he thinks, at Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin one way or the other. That and more, and the look back at the weekend we just saw in college football. This is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, as they hit Black Friday around the corner. And even before that, they have some special deals for you with Ted Teague, the CEO and general manager. David Gray runs all of what they do in sales. The all-new Ram 1500, the Motor Trend Truck of the Year, built tough, loaded with power, ready for anything that Texas can throw your way. And right now, this is what they have available with that. The Jeep Wrangler, in fact, the 4-door 2025 Sport, right now, just $250 a month lease for 10,000 miles a year, only $2,000 on top of that with tax, title, and license. How about the Ram 1500 trucks 2025? Right now available, 0% APR for 72 months, no payments for 90 days. They're in stock and ready to sell. Go test drive one, fall in love with it, and drive it off the lot. Also, $14,000 off and 3.9% for 72 months in the brand new 2025 1500 Lone Star, or lock it up at 0% APR financing for 72 months. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, the Black Friday sales event, even before Black Friday, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
You don't want to miss our best price deals during the Black Friday sales event at Allen Samuels. This month, you can save big on the truck you've been looking for, like the new Rams. Designed to be durable, functional, and stylish, Ram trucks give you that first-class feel. With premium options like luxurious leather trim seating, surround view cameras, and more. Shop our great selection in-store or online today. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Over 30% of adults struggle with chronic foot and joint pain, and many face mobility limitations as they age. But a revolutionary Comfort First slipper has taken the wellness world by storm. Try Cloud Slides and feel you are walking on the clouds. Cloud Slides.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code SPORTS365 to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code SPORTS365. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money. Must be 18 and up, 19 and up in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 and up, and in Colorado for some games, 21 and up in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and must be present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
You know, when you plan a guest and a great one like Andy Staples on 3 Sports joins us on 365 Sports, you also knew that James Franklin was going to be hired today at Virginia Tech, which I'm sure took up part of his time. Andy, thanks for your time. We do appreciate it. Virginia Tech gets a big fish in James Franklin. What does it mean not only to them, but maybe the ACC?
This is a big deal because you think about this. If he wasn't fired Penn State coach James Franklin, that Penn State owes $8 million a year to, and you can pull the amount that you pay him out of Penn State's tab, I don't know that they would have been able to afford him. I think James Franklin on the open market is going to command more than Virginia Tech's going to wind up having to pay him. And so this is a better coach than they would have been able to hire. And you got to understand that Virginia Tech is about to put a bunch of money into football that they weren't putting in before. And this is part of the reason why Brent Pry didn't succeed there. And their AD, Whit Babcock, went to their board before the football season and basically said, hey, we resource our program at the bottom of the ACC. And if you ever want to win, we're going to have to do something different. And they committed extra money. But part of that, I think, was them saying, hey, we're not sure that Brent Pry is the right guy to lead us into the future. And now they have James Franklin, who basically got run out of Penn State because he was only winning 10 games a year. He did win 13 last year, but he wasn't beating Ohio State. He wasn't beating Michigan. He wasn't winning those games that win you national championships. Well, that's not what Virginia Tech's trying to do. Virginia Tech is trying to be relevant in the ACC. They're trying to win the ACC every once in a while, compete for the ACC title every once in a while. And if you look at the current ACC standings where there are 6 teams still alive for the ACC conference title, Virginia's one of them. Duke's still alive with 5 losses, with 3 non-conference losses. Pittsburgh's still alive. James Franklin can have them competitive in the ACC by next year.
Andy, I mean, and that's just it. Like, there is a school of thought that, that's this way because Clemson and Florida State both suck out loud this year. But what if that's just who they are now? I mean, like, there's no guarantee that anybody like Dabo's going to bounce back.
Right.
Who knows what's going to happen in Tallahassee? It's an absolute mess. So this might be the league right now, right?
Yeah. And I think it is. I think that Miami didn't cash in on the promise they showed at the beginning of the season. Now, look, Miami's not out of it yet. Miami could still finish 10-2. They still might even make the playoff. But that roster is the only one that's really significantly different than the others. Clemson's is a little bit better, but they're not winning with those guys either. So you may be right. Like, this may be it. It may be that Brent Key's Georgia Tech and Tony Elliott's Virginia and Pat Narduzzi's Pittsburgh and Rhett Lashley's SMU. That's your competition. That's who's going to be up for the title every year. And I like the chances of James Franklin's Virginia Tech, especially with Virginia Tech deciding to put money in at a similar level to the teams, closer to the top half of the ACC. I like their chances to be competitive in that conference.
Andy, this carousel got off to a roaring start, and it's been seemingly nonstop ever since. But now we have officially entered flight tracker mode, thanks to Lane Kiffin and his family and Baton Rouge and Gainesville, and obviously you're a former Gator. And just what do you make of the latest reports and kind of where all the rumors are swirling at the moment with Lane Kiffin?
It's amazing. I have people asking me, like, what can a coach's family learn from these trips? And I'm thinking about this, like, Lane Kiffin's ex-wife went to high school in Gainesville, went to University of Florida. So, like, there's not much she needs to know. As someone who's went to UF and lives in Gainesville, not much has changed since she graduated. So it's not, there's not really much to know here. It's crazy because this is a little bit different. You have this occasionally happen where coaches will send their families to go look at some stuff, but I start to wonder, with Lane, because you don't know with him. You never know. Is it all just one giant troll? Is he doing this so that the day before the Egg Bowl, like on Thanksgiving, he's like, I give thanks for Ole Miss and I'm staying? Yeah. I don't know. I have no idea. And there'll be people at Florida who swear, oh, he's always want to be Florida's coach. He's coming. Or, LSU's the best job available. He's got to take that. I do not know. I'm not even going to pretend to crawl inside Lane Kiffin's head and know what he's going to do. I do think he has all the leverage in the world and he's milking it for all it's worth.
You crawl inside his head. You may not get out, right?
It's true. It's true.
You may not get out. He does seem to be in a pretty good place as far as you've read the stories. I've seen some stories about him that he's matured quite a bit, which he needed to do, like everybody needs to do. Do you feel like Ole Miss would scratch the itch forever?
I don't know. That's the thing. Lane Kiffin is the only person who can answer that. I do think we can all rationally break down these jobs, and I think there's a case to be made that in 2025, the Ole Miss job and the Florida job and the LSU job are not really that different. Like, if this were 2010, guys, there would have been no question. Like, he would be leaving for Florida or LSU. There'd be no debate. It'd be just, when does the plane pick him up? That's not the case anymore. Clearly, you look at where he has Ole Miss right now. He can take them pretty much as far as you want to go. I think you can win a national title at Ole Miss now. So if that's the ceiling, and the ceiling is the same at Florida and Ole Miss and LSU, and it's not going to be money, Ole Miss can pay exactly what Florida and LSU can pay, then it comes down to, where do you want to work? And it'll be Lane Kiffin's personal choice of where he wants to work. And I think that's the answer we're all waiting to hear.
Andy, being as you've been in Gainesville as long as you have, Florida has a tendency sometimes in these things to have a list of candidates that are very, very like, oh my God, like this is who they're going after. And then they go down those roads and find
it didn't last time.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. So how do they find the middle ground between the Mike Shanahan is definitely coming here, which was what was going on in a lot of their heads before Ron Zook got hired?
He did go to Florida.
Yeah, he did. He was the coach of the Broncos at the time, though.
Yeah,
make a whole lot
never mind that part.
Oh, John Elway's retired. He doesn't want to be there anymore. But like, and they got Ron Zook to the. Well, look, we don't want that episode again, so let's just hire Billy Napier because we think he's up and coming. Like,
Well, I will say nobody who worked at Florida when they hired Billy Napier. Well, that's not true. The person who hired Billy Napier was not at Florida when that all went down. A lot of the assistant ADs were, but no, I mean, they went after the biggest fish when Urban Meyer was the biggest fish, and they got it. But they didn't do that in the other instances. Although I guess Dan Mullen that was a case where Scott Strickland, the athletic director who had come from Mississippi State, didn't want to do that to his alma mater. But when he realized Mullen was talking to Tennessee and he was going to leave anyway, then he went and hired him. But yeah, it's interesting. They really zeroed in on Billy Napier last time, and I think that is one of the critiques of that hire is there were a lot of other coaches available. And look, we didn't know that Brian Kelly and Lincoln Riley were available at that time when it all went down. Come to find out later, they did. Like Florida knew. Florida had known that they were available. I don't think Lincoln Riley was coming, but Brian Kelly was kind of presented to them as a possibility. Now, in hindsight, passing on that probably was a good choice. But this seems to be a little more of a bigger name search. They want Lane Kiffin. If they don't get Lane Kiffin, the other names you're hearing are sitting head coaches. It'd be like Jeff Brom at Louisville, Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri, Brent Key at Georgia Tech. Those are the names you're hearing. So it'd be people who are successful head coaches in power conferences.
Andy, looking at the big picture, Big 12 wise, I mean, Texas Tech's offseason investments have paid off so far tenfold and look like they will continue to. BYU looks like a very strong team, and then Utah's kind of sitting there as well. How realistic, if at all, do you think there is a chance that league can get a couple teams in the playoff?
It's a little bit hard because Texas Tech looks so much better than everybody else. Looks like they're on another plane. But Texas Tech also lost to Arizona State. So, if you get a rematch of BYU, Texas Tech, and BYU wins, does Texas Tech still get in? I don't know. Utah, it's funny because whatever the predictive power rankings the committee is using loves Utah. You could tell because Utah's ranked higher by them than anybody else. And then if you go look at like FPI or any of those power rankings that you would use to kind of set the line in Vegas, those are very fond of Utah. So I wonder if Utah could be given, a little grace because they played that game so early in the season. But I mean, Texas Tech drilled Utah at home, even though it was playing its backup quarterback for a lot of the game. So I don't know. And part of me, guys, I just look at this because like Cincinnati was very much in the mix to make the conference title game until the past couple games. They lose to Utah, they lose to Arizona. Now it looks like if BYU goes up there, they're going to punch their ticket to go play Texas Tech again. I watched that first Texas Tech BYU game. I don't see any way that happens. I just don't see any way Texas Tech doesn't win the title and go.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair and valid. Yeah. Look, let me ask you this about Texas Tech. Do you think they're a team that get into the playoff and actually make some noise? Like they've been able to, I think, out-talent some teams just straight up, especially in conference play. But do you think that translates? They can go reel off 2 or 3 wins if necessary.
Yeah, they can because they have the same talent as some of these teams that we're talking about. I was at Georgia, Texas over the weekend. Like Texas Tech is, I don't know if they're completely comparable with those two, but they're close. Like they. If you go body for body in the first 22, they don't look that different. And as long as Baron Morton can stay healthy, I think that's maybe the bigger concern because obviously Will Hammond's out for the year. So your third stringer, Mitch Griffiths, is now your backup. And they are a little bit different if he's the starting quarterback. But if Morton's playing, I like them against a lot of those other playoff teams. I think they could be very competitive against them. So wouldn't be shocked at all if they got into the playoff and they won a few games.
Yeah, this is a team that wins with their defense. Their offense can be good, but it's not like they have to score people like in the days forever.
Yeah, and this is not the Cliff Kingsbury Texas Tech. This is a team that's built a lot like those old Georgia teams were built.
Speaking of that, you were there on Saturday night when Georgia just started. I mean, Texas scores, cut it to 4, and then after that, Georgia just bullied them. Were you stunned at how quickly that thing shifted back to the Bulldogs?
Yes, in the way they did it, because I thought it was a good example of Kirby Smart adapting a little bit, because the Georgia teams that won the national title a few years ago never would have gone for it on 4th and 1 from their own 36. So we'll set the scene. Texas scores to cut the lead to 4. So it's 14-10. Georgia gets the ball back, and they are, stuck at 4th and 1 on their own 36. The old Georgia, they just punt, and they have Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter and Trevon Walker on their defensive line, and you're not going to score again. Like, they know that. This Georgia doesn't know that, because this Georgia does not have a massive talent advantage over everybody they're playing. And so they had to do something different. They had to go for it on 4th and 1. And you get a great play call from Mike Bobo, and they slip Chauncey Bowers out into the flat, and they get the first down. They went for it on 4th down again that drive. That's where they drew them off sides. Mm-hmm. They score, and you get the onside kick. Now, and everybody's like, it's film study. Yeah, it's film study. Clearly, Kirby Smart had recognized that Texas wasn't going to be ready for it. But it's also Kirby Smart philosophically understanding, you know what? I got to go for the jugular now, because my defense is playing well, but I can't guarantee it's going to suffocate them the rest of the game. So let's end this thing right now. And that's what he did. And I thought that was pretty impressive. I thought that was different. And it reminded me a lot of his old boss, Nick Saban. You go back to the national title game after the 2015 season. It's in Glendale, Arizona. They're playing Clemson. And Deshaun Watson is basically unstoppable that night. And Saban's like, I got to steal a possession here. And he had a sky kick that they'd practiced. They'd watched, every Clemson game. They noticed that there was this vulnerability. And they said, if Clemson, does the same thing in their kickoff return tonight, we'll put it in. We'll just say it's live, and we may use it if we need to. And it's 24-24, and he's like, we got to steal a possession, and that's what he did. And I'll never forget Nick Saban's smile after that. It's the funniest Nick Saban moment on the sideline of his career. And so Georgia gets the onside kick, and you see the replay, and they show Kirby Smart as he's watching it about to happen. He has this smirk on his face, like, y'all better see this. And then they just go nuts on the sideline afterward. It was pretty funny. And I don't know that Kirby would have, earlier in his head coaching career would have been aggressive enough to do that. I think he would have tried to fall back on his talent. And I think he realizes now, like, if Georgia gets in a game with Ohio State, they will not be the more talented team. And they may find themselves in a situation like that where they have to do something like that. And now we know they can.
Andy Staples with us on 3. A couple more questions, Paul.
Mike Elko worked for Jimbo Fisher. He worked for Brian Kelly. A lot of times when you do that, you are similar to those guys.
He worked for Dave Clawson, Paul.
Dave Clawson.
He's similar to Dave Clawson.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. Like, he didn't pick up any of their, like, this is the way that we coach football, and this is the only way we coach football, which is Jimbo's kind of downfall and Brian Kelly's downfall. He has, in 2 years, completely erased the last 40 years of Aggie trauma.
Yeah, he has.
How?
And now, if you've met Dave Clawson, he's the most different football coach. Well, no, you guys live in the same town as Dave Aranda, so I can't say that. But from a personality standpoint, Dave Clawson is as different as Dave is. It's just in a different way. And it's very cerebral, just like Dave. But again, it expresses itself differently. And, it's one of those things where Dave was kind of the perfect guy for Wake Forest. What Mike took from that is, Mike was fine when that, because that group, they were at Richmond, I believe. I think Mike was with them at Richmond. And then they were all at Bowling Green. And Mike could handle anybody. He could work with anybody. But, he understood how that program was run and put together. And it was not done in a my way or the highway, this is the only way to do this kind of style. It was, hey, what are we doing that we can do better? And being willing to adapt and understanding, that there's always a better way. And there's some people out there who might be smarter than you, who might be doing something you want to steal. And I think Elko understands that. And Elko's running his program. in a way that's much more similar to Dave Clawson than to Jimbo Fisher and Brian Kelly. And let's be real here. He was kind of a hired gun for those guys because he'd already shown what he could do at Wake Forest. That's how he gets the Notre Dame job. And then he does a good job at Notre Dame, and that's why he gets hired at Texas A&M. So I think probably he had even before he went to Notre Dame, he probably had a plan in his head of what he'd be like as a head coach and how he'd run a program. And I think that probably owes more to his experiences earlier in his career. And it's amazing how well they've done and how unflappable they look in that second half, because look, it could not have gone any worse in the first half. They go in the red zone 4 times and come away with 3 points. And I think Mike Elko is the kind of guy who, instead of freaking out in that situation, is going to go in the locker room and go, hey guys, we were in the red zone 4 times. We're going to be in the red zone again. Let's just maybe put it over the goal line when we do. And you knew when Marcel Reed drives them down, first drive of the second half, and puts it in the end zone immediately, it's like, okay, this is going to be a game. You didn't know they were going to come all the way back and win, but you knew they were going to make it a game. And I mean, that's what Elko's done. And he's also, created a physical edge, because he does understand this is something that Jimbo Fisher did really well early in his career when he was at Florida State, is create the more physical team. They hired Tommy Moffitt, who'd been fired by LSU. Tommy Moffitt's teams at LSU under Nick Saban, under Les Miles, under Ed Orgeron were among the toughest in college football every year. And like Mike Elko knew going into that LSU game this year. Remember who was winning that game at halftime? It was LSU.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mike Elko knew he was going to have the tougher team in the fourth quarter. He knew he was going to have the tougher team in the third quarter. And that's kind of the difference. He coaches that. He coaches like that. And I think that's how you can get in a situation like you were at LSU when you're losing at halftime, or against South Carolina where you're losing at halftime, where you don't freak out. You just know, hey, we've prepared for this. We will come back.
Andy, appreciate it, man. Appreciate your time. Hopefully get you between now and the end of the college football playoff again. Keep doing what you're doing. Have a great day. Thank you.
Yes, sir, Smokey. Appreciate it.
You too. Andy Staples on 3 Sports with a bunch. And he was on the field at the end of the Georgia-Texas game doing a report. We need to take a break. When we come back, a short note about the Big Ten and private money. That plus more, and then Phil Bennett at 5. We appreciate your time, and this is 365 Sports. Ideal, MRI.com with Dr. Rob Maxey and his partners. They do a great job, and ever since they opened their doors, if you need, as a patient, customer, an MRI on a part of your body, whatever it might be, whether there might be ligament damage or muscle damage or just some damage, but it hurts enough to where it's bothering you, your doctor wants a better look. So they then can see the evidence, which you'll get state-of-the-art imaging machine and also sent into the portal to your doctor so he can or she can give you, okay, this is how we're going to proceed from here. It's Ideal, MRI.com, $497 or less every single time inside the Central Texas Marketplace off I-35 in Waco.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at AllianceBankTexas.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Have you heard of the new IRA? The new IRA, Insured Retirement Advantage, is a solution for high-income individuals and business owners who want to grow and protect their wealth without locking up capital or taking unnecessary risks. If you're an asset manager or a licensed insurance agent looking to provide your clients with guaranteed tax-free retirement income and legacy protection, the new IRA Insured Retirement Advantage is an option you need to know more about and is only available exclusively from Northstar Funding Partners. For more information, go to northstarfundingpartners.com and tell them 365 Sports sent you.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions, IT success guaranteed.
This is Richard Carr, and it's hard to believe, but 2025 marks our 26th year in the car business. I want to thank you for your support over the last 26 years. As a locally owned business, our customers in Central Texas community are also friends and neighbors. If you haven't been by lately, I invite you to come in and experience our amazing lineup of Buick, GMC, and Cadillac vehicles. Our goal is to make you feel like more than just a customer, but as a valued neighbor. Let us show you why we are people you can count on at Richard Carr, Buick, GMC, Cadillac.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Welcome back into 365 Sports. Got Phil Bennett coming up right around the corner, and we're going to be talking about all things from this past weekend with Coach Bennett. And do I need to raise my mic? Is that what you're signifying over there?
No, you're good. Go ahead.
But a little bit of news out of the Big Ten and out of this investment story that was swirling over the last few weeks. And we know that USC and Michigan very publicly have said, well, we don't know about this. Like, we're not on board with this. And there was some people who don't have the authority to do so saying, well, they better get on board with it or whatever. And there was also people saying, well, if the Big Ten's not careful, they could push them right out of the league, and maybe they're flirting with Notre Dame in the independent ranks here in the next few years. But they had the big GOR extension that was a part of this deal, the private, whatever you want to refer to it as properly, private investment, private equity, whatever. It's PE money, type money that was apparently going to be involved here for the Big Ten. And as of now, the latest update, Pete Thamel just a couple of hours ago, UC Investments, which is from the Cal system, the CIO released a statement expressing that 18 institutions is the best path for a Big Ten private capital deal. And so it appears as though a deal is on pause until all 18 schools get on board, with one of the quotes being, the unity of the 18 Big Ten university members is key to the success of Big Ten enterprises. So it sounds as like it's something that's still out there, but basically, thank you, Michigan and USC, for standing up and saying, no, we're not going to do this because you just torpedoed this entire thing, is what it looks like has happened. Because, yeah, you all of a sudden look up and you go, Ohio State's great and Minnesota and whoever, but USC and Michigan are also a part of that money that you were anticipating getting rolling in. And so without them, it's a much different deal. And so kudos to those two schools, because it looks like they've tanked this thing for at least right now.
Well, and I would think that the deal would maybe get renegotiated now and maybe be better for Michigan and USC if they have to make it not like a payday loan. But I do immediately when I saw that, I thought of the movie The Descendants, which I know most you probably haven't seen, but it's a movie about George Clooney and his family. It takes place in Hawaii, and they're like the descendants of the original Hawaiian royals, and they own all this land. And right at the end of the movie, George Clooney decides not to sell this land to a developer, and his whole family is going to be mad at him, but it was the right thing to do. And that's who Michigan and USC are here. They're not just going to sell, out to somebody because it's just money. And there's maybe more important things to preserve than just that. And your integrity, which in today's college football, just not saying like money from where? Okay, good. Here's the ACH code. Just make sure you send it there on the first of the month. all right, we're moving on. Like that's pretty much what they do. But Michigan and USC standing up to it. Kudos.
They should have, once those two said no, they should have just dropped it and moved on. This was inevitable.
Well, I think that they're probably going to go back to the drawing board and figure out how they can rework it to maybe convince them to get on board. I don't think it's going to go away when you got sharks in the water, but I do think it's putting it on pause for right now. So that's notable because we did talk a great deal about the potential ramifications of that and what that would look like if, in fact, they did say, well, screw you, USC and Michigan. They had the ball in their court. They had the power in their court being the two big brands that they are. And so they stood up and said no, and now it appears like that's a no-go for at least the time being. So thank you, Trojans and Wolverines, for doing your part. Although I did see a Minnesota fans like bummed out, hoping they were going to get $100 million. Somebody's trying to explain to them, like, dude, you like the interest and all the things you got to pay back, but fans aren't worried about that. They just want the money. They don't have to worry about paying it back, even though it is going to come out of your pocket eventually. You better believe that.
Hey, by the way, yeah, that's interesting because that it's over now, right? As you said, they'll go back to the drawing board. Congratulations to Corey Michelson. He and Dave Loveroot had won earlier this year, went 9-1 in the College Football North Star Funding Partners Pick'em game. And so, Corey, I reached out to you. Haven't heard back from you, so I can send you the $100 Visa card thanks to Kim Coulter and North Star Funding Partners. A lot of people finished 8-2. Craig, you were a part of that 8-2. Let's see here. Paul, you were a part of 8-2. I was 7-3 because I did what I was told that others do too much and just felt Texas would win a game they weren't supposed to win. And so I went 7-3. But congratulations, Corey. I sent you an email looking for that. Hope you get back with me so I can send you the gift card.
Yeah, I lost to Oklahoma, Alabama, which, I mean, I just didn't feel like the Sooners had enough to go in there and win. I was mostly focused on the offense. I felt like the defense would play well, but, I mean, special teams, again, was huge for them and just had an avalanche of big moments in, like, the pick six and just things that really just threw Bama off and gave Oklahoma a lot to fuel up on early in that game. And you're like, ooh, wait a second. This has that feel all of a sudden of being very, very interesting. And they finished the job. And so, yeah, I got that one wrong. Gladly got that one wrong. And then I think I got USF wrong. Probably
all of
was
us
the
did.
other one.
I think most everybody did with USF. Yeah. All right. One more thing. Everyone may have seen this during the South Carolina 30-3 first half. They hit that little pass for about 15 yards, and then 80 yards later, a touchdown. In the tunnel, there were 2 or 3 Gamecock players that were celebrating. They were trying to get, I guess, back out onto the field. A DPS officer was walking up the tunnel and used kind of part of his left shoulder to make contact with a South Carolina player, then kind of barked at him. He was then sent home pretty quickly. I know that even the Texas DPS put up a tweet about it. We are aware of an incident, and he was sent home.
It was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen a human being do in my life for no reason at all. And at that point, I believe that made it 30-3.
No,
27-3.
27-3.
27-3. Yeah, they still had the field goal. They still had the field goal left. So that made it 27-3. So if you're an Aggie fan, DPS officer, the time to talk noise was not then. And it's certainly not your job to go bow up on the players who are going back to the field and rightfully dismissed from that post. Now, he's still a DPS officer, and hopefully they get to the bottom of why he's such a dick, but I don't know if they will.
Yeah, no, he's a total D-bag and a hothead and an absolute embarrassment that gives other DPS officers a bad name and gives other people in that type of a field a bad name. Look, there are a lot of great cops, a lot of great highway patrolmen, just like there's great doctors and great teachers, and what they do is a huge service, and when they're good at it, it's great for everybody, but there are bad seeds in every walk of life, and that dude looks like a very bad seed based on his behavior. Heat of the moment, okay, I just find it very hard to believe in that very moment that guy just was suddenly out of character for a blip, and the rest of the time that he's totally cool and not at all a guy with a short fuse or a guy that's throwing an elbow on camera into a player to initiate contact and then telling them to get out of the tunnel when guess what they were trying to do until you walked into them and threw an elbow. They were trying to get out of the tunnel. The dude was an a-hole. I don't care what uniform he's wearing. And I'm glad that he got caught on camera, because imagine how many times he may not get caught on camera, or people like him that do such a thing. So, don't want him getting death threats or anything along those lines. But I think a suspension, or at least getting kicked off those game day duties, was absolutely the bare minimum they could do. So I'm glad that was not something that could just go away, that it was like, no, there's millions of people watching this, and he needs to be held accountable for being a douchebag.
When I first saw it, we got a break for Phil Bennett. I thought it was one of those A&M police department tweets about, some kid tried to sneak in a 20-ounce Miller Lite into his back pocket or whatever. And then I realized, oh, no, that actually did happen. All right, when we come back, Phil Bennett, his thoughts about right there in his backyard at A&M and the comeback and more. This is 365 Sports.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
No car payments for 90 days when you bring your auto loan home to Genco. Get 4.79% for 48 months and make no payments until 2026. Plus, get entered to win 3 months of no car payments. Bring your auto loan home to Genco. Lower your interest rate, save money, and no payments until 2026. Special is subject to credit approval and membership eligibility. Visit GencoFCU.org. Member NCUA.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
He is Phil Bennett, great friend of the show. Yep, there he is in his backyard that is just, and I know personally, amazing. And he's there for us. We appreciate his insight. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time. Were you proudly wearing your A&M varsity letter jacket when they came back against South Carolina on Saturday?
Smokey, I was actually in San Antonio at UIW's game against Southeastern, and Mark, my buddy Dennard, kept calling me. And he's going, 21, 20, then he's going 20. Then all he says, he calls me, and I'm on the sideline. He goes, you think I'm crazy? He said, it's 30-3, but I believe A&M can beat them. I said, well, what in the hell have they done? He said, I said, they're going to get 5 or 6 possessions. They're going to have to score every time and hold them. And lo and behold, and he told me, he said, I think A&M will come back. And, I talked text with Colin Klein, and Colin, he said, as bad as we played the first half, with the exception of one play, we played that well the second half. And it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, let me ask you about that play. I don't know if you saw it. It was the only time during the game he got cute, and he ran a little trick play on the 2-yard line, which is about 50 yards closer to me than you want to want a trick play. But he did that. The defense bowed up. How tempting is it as a coach to see something and decide to call it, even though it may not be the right time?
Paul, we all know second guessing's the part of the game, right? Yeah. I think that he thought it was a terrible call. And he said, I didn't feel good. But he said last year they struggled with short yardage and they were trying to get it into a hand. Morrow, the young back, who's a freshman, they thought it was something that they could knock him off the ball. And, it's one of those things, if it would worked, they'd say, hey, that's a great job. Took it out of Reed's hand and got it in the running back and you scored. But it was almost a fatal play. No question.
Coach had another couple games in the SEC that were big money games there with Texas, Georgia, but also OU, Alabama. I'll just ask you about one of them, and the guys can clean up the rest. But Brent Venables and that defense, they are sure playing a particularly fun brand of football right now.
They are fun to watch. I mean, they're aggressive. They play both the run and the pass well. The pressure package. I thought the quarterback at Alabama, he hasn't seen that. He didn't see it versus Georgia. I mean, he just you could tell Simpson was off his game, and it was due to pressure. Bowman's touchdown defensively was a beauty, and it turned the whole game around. And this is back-to-back years that Oklahoma has put a dent in Alabama.
Yeah, that was there was that thought OU kind of floundered last year. Are they going to end up being like what Nebraska became or is in the Big Ten? But they're Oklahoma, damn, Phil. I mean, you know that. You've been there.
Yeah.
I think maybe because Texas was so good the first year in the SEC, but Oklahoma has the history because they're Oklahoma.
I always say this. I played in a golf tournament in San Antonio last summer, and the quarterback that was at Oklahoma that went to A&M. We actually that year knocked him out of the game. Do you remember his name in 14?
The quarterback that went.
Yeah, he left Oklahoma and went to A&M.
He's the one that
Trevor Knight.
Trevor Knight.
Trevor.
Yeah,
great kid.
Yep.
And Trevor told me, he said, Coach, he said I took this as a great compliment. I think he was talking about when they played Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. He said, Coach, he said, I guess I'd forgot about that. It was like 35-14. So Oklahoma has beaten Alabama, in the recent history, I think 3-0. So a lot of people underestimated. I heard that you guys didn't bet it, and I don't blame you. I would have bet Alabama also.
Yeah. No, and their defense does look like it just kind of swarms you now, and they got great speed. Man, do they have great speed. Phil Bennett with us Mondays at 5 to kind of look back at the weekend and a couple of other notes in college football.
Phil, Texas got kind of cleaned out talent-wise, I think, and people maybe didn't realize it as much because of the recruiting pipeline that they have. When you watch them now, and obviously like what Kirby Smart's doing at Georgia is a big part of why they got thumped so bad. But do you think that they look so kind of blah by last year's standards? Is most of these guys just haven't played except these 10 games they played so far?
I think it's obvious, Paul, that even on defense. They had those big those interior linemen that, I mean, they two guys could occupy four. They don't have that anymore. I think that the most notable thing is they can't run the ball. I mean, Georgia is not your typical what Georgia has been D-line, and they dominated the line of scrimmage. I think there's a reason, and I've said this to anybody that will listen, that Sarkisian has not, touted Arch Manning. He understands. I can't tell you Arch Manning is going to get there, but at this point, he is as about as average as you can get at a Power 4 quarterback. He's not a playmaker, run or pass, and he just hasn't been consistent. They can't run the ball. Offensive line is not what it was. Receiver, they got one, but not a group of them. And I look at it as a talent thing. Also, I think people are seeing why Quinn Ewing was the quarterback last year.
Coach, how much did you appreciate Kirby Smart just saying we're rolling it all out there and we're going to go and we're gonna stick you right in the jugular vein and end this thing?
I don't know Kirby well, but I love his personality. I mean, he has to be a guy that's fun to play for. I mean, some coaches we watch sit there and they look like they're in Zen moments. This guy is wound up like an 8-day clock. and I love it. And can't you see those players are feeding off that? I mean, Glenn Schumann, the young defensive coordinator, his special team coach, they came in with a plan, and that plan was pretty simple. And I heard a friend of mine that's on the staff say this. Kirby says, hey, both times we played them, we've been underdogs. Let's kick their ass without a doubt. And they did.
Somebody, and it was just a random fan, but they said that Kirby Smart, if he couldn't coach football, would be in an insane asylum. That he is like a wild, crazy-ass guy. I mean,
he looked like on the sideline, he looked like Jack Nicholson and One Flew Over the Cuckoo Nest.
He did.
He was jacked up, and when they got that onside kick, I mean, he went into another gear. And you know what got me? You had Sark sitting there giving that, and then the special team coach, the pole dancer's husband. I mean, he didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
No, I tweeted out after that Jeff Banks hadn't been that mad since they canceled 2-for-1 lap dances.
That's exactly right.
Phil, Baylor got walloped by Utah this week. Obviously, there's the entire Max situation that's going on that adds into this when it comes to Dave Aranda and his future. But do you see any path forward where Dave Aranda comes back and the fans buy into that?
I looked at the stadium, and after spending 6 years there, 6 wonderful years of great football, great fan support, I was shocked at the stadium. And as the game went on, I don't know, Paul. I know with Mac's situation, I don't know who's in charge. I don't know if the president or the board of regents. I think that you saw maybe Baylor at its lowest, even in 16. We were a competitive team. The last game we played, we beat Boise. I mean, there was a lot of things going on. That game was out. I thought when they got it to 28-20, maybe a chance. But defensively, they just can't match up with anyone that can run the ball. I think there's the decision makers are going to have a plan in place. And I'm sure it's being worked on right now. And I don't know that answer.
So Utah had a 64-yard touchdown run to break it open, then a 74-yard touchdown run. They had a 67-yard touchdown run. I mean, 380 rushing yards in this game. Utah barely threw for over 100 yards because they didn't need to.
Yeah.
Dave Aranda's a defensive guy, Coach. Is this talent? Is this like what is not connecting here from what you see?
Well, I said this, Craig, before. There's things you can do. When I was at Baylor, we were never really big. We had a great player in Andrew Billings, big guy. But other than that, we were more speed oriented. You have to move a little bit. You got to do some things. We don't do that. We don't make it hard on the defense at all. I mean, they know where we're going to be pretty much every play. And it surprises me a little bit because when we had the linebacker 52 last year, we would run him through, do some things, but we don't do that anymore. The one thing you can do as a defensive coach, where you put your people dictates where they're going to run. So one of the things Randy Clements used to always, every time he talks to me, he goes, we always knew when we played you, whatever our best play was, you were going to stop it. You were going to make us left-handed. And we don't do that. And I say this again, the schematics that Utah uses is similar back of the Big 12 days, of what Art did. There's more ways. You still have to be physical, but schematically, there's plays, the quarterback counter, the things they were doing. You got to get your fits right, and you got to have the right numbers. And we didn't have a chance.
I was asked this question, a direct message on Twitter, and I didn't respond to it, but I asked Dave about, the next couple of weeks and the decision. Is AD that hired him and then extended him, et cetera, and decided to bring him back is gone. But how about the two high quarters that they stayed in and kept getting gashed? Is that a scheme thing that you could help kind of bring? Yeah.
I mean, what kind of death do you want to die? I mean, if you're giving up, multiple explosive runs, plus it up, move the safety, get him in the box, bring the safety down, bring the short side of the ring, bring the corner, bring the safety, bring the wheel, bring the nickel. We just didn't. We're very complacent, and I am being critical, but I would tell him this, so I don't have any. The thing defensively that you have to do, they've got to search for you. When you move people a little bit, you can ask the best line coach in America. It slows down their aggressiveness. Now, they might block you, might get better, but when you can slow them down, you can dictate some things. We don't challenge the offense. And I saw it the first game against Auburn, and it's got progressively worse.
Phil, if you don't mind, Paul, so Mack Rhodes hired Dave Aranda. He then also extended Dave Aranda and then decided that they would stick with Dave Aranda. He's gone. How scary is that as a head coach, even if you kind of see the writing on the wall?
Smoak, I'm just wanting to know is there someone there in charge? Is there somewhere there that is powerful enough to make a decision saying, hey, we've got a problem. Look at these stands, okay? Look at our performance and our moneymaker in a time where timing is everything. You're going to have to fill the roster. I don't know if the quarterback's coming back, but a lot of the guys won't be coming back. I'm telling you, somebody better take a hold of the reins and make a decision.
Last thing for me, Coach, James Franklin, hired at Virginia Tech. How do you grade that hire?
I think it's a good hire. He's a proven coach. Won at Vanderbilt, won, not at the level they wanted at Penn State, but James Franklin, here's the first thing he'll do. He'll bring a very quality staff with him right away. He'll recruit hard. He is a guy that I think it's a very good hire. Congrats to Virginia Tech. Good move.
Phil Bennett with us on Mondays. And I didn't see the score in Incarnate Word. I know your son's on the staff. How are they doing?
Listen, it's been one of those years. They've got 11 guys playing in Power 4 schools, starting. that were there, and it's been they've been competitive. Saturday, 10-7, they're on the 15-yard line, Southeast Louisiana, who was scoring 40-something points a game. And so they're going to kick it. They got the best kicker in the league to tie it up. We're going to overtime. He hits the crossbar. So, they've had one of those years, very competitive, just hadn't been good enough to get it over.
How about Stephen F. Austin winning the Southland Conference with Kobe Carthel?
They've done a good job. I watched them. They last year I went to the Incarnate Word won the championship at Nacogdoches, and I'll never forget this. Kobe told me, he said, "We're going to win it next year," and they did.
Wow. Okay.
Sure
He's been there a while after what he did at A&M Commerce, or now A&M Texas. What is it? East Texas A&M.
Yeah, and you know what he does, and what Incarnate Word has done good is they've evaluated well. The guys that they took, you look at A&M. How important are those receivers they evaluated?
My goodness, yeah.
Evaluation is big.
Go home or go home. Hell, go watch that A&M game. You will die watching all the momentum shifts. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it, Coach.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good week.
Phil Bennett with us on Mondays in the 5 o'clock hour. And he's watching the game, and he's an A&M grad, and he got his friend that I remember he wasn't doing very well health-wise, so it's good that he was texting Phil watching that game.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if we're going to be talking to him here next week and going, hey, what are your thoughts on Eric Morse? What are your thoughts on whoever else might be out there as far as some names to know moving forward? Because, that was a bad look. I mean, the shirtless fans, like I said, they made the price worth admission and worth the trip and going over there on Saturday night to McLean Stadium. And Utah's a hell of a football team, too. Like Bird Ficklin, like what a bright future that young man has. I mean, I don't know about throwing the football around, but as far as a running quarterback, and granted, Baylor's defense is putrid, but Bird Ficklin's got something to him. And, Utah, they have little to no shot to make the Big 12 title game because of who they've lost to. I mean, there's no way BYU and Texas Tech both lose 2 games in the next 2 weeks to give them a shot. And I do think that there's no shot that there are 3 Big 12 teams in the playoff unless just chaos erupts everywhere. But Utah's a good team, and it's a nice bounce back from a year ago and where they were and what we were talking about. Yep. And so it was cool to see some of their fans. So shout out to the Utes.
Here's what I hope for Utah if they do say they finish 10-2 and get snubbed.
Mm-hmm.
The discussion needs to be, if you're a 10-2 team that's not in the Big Ten or SEC, what do you have to do on your schedule on all this to make people understand that it's not any different?
They would need more ranked wins, which is what they're missing out on. But there's also the self-fulfilling top 25 in a lot of ways where you don't get a lot of cracks and the uneven scheduling. You don't get to play every ranked team, and the 2 ranked teams that they got a real good crack at, they lost to both of them. So they actually would have a very strong 10-2. But I think there's little to zero chance. And I do think that BYU's right on that cusp of do they even get a shot at it?
Well, if you look at Utah, they played UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
And then they played Cal Poly at home, and then they played on the road against Wyoming. But they did play UCLA, and I know that they had a terrible start. Then they had the win against Penn State that got Franklin basically fired. So, I mean, their schedule's fine. What you need to do is win your bowl game against somebody that maybe has a pretty big name. That doesn't mean it carries over, but win those games.
I mean, they did beat a top 25 team in Cincinnati, but they're already out of the top 25, so that doesn't even count the same now.
They kind of broke Cincinnati.
Yeah, they did. They broke Cincinnati, and so then that actually hurt them in a way that Cincinnati fell the way they did ultimately. But, Kansas State and Kansas, they'll win probably both of those games. I would feel very confident in that, but it's not going to do much for them. And so, I think they're in a tough spot. And then I think BYU is going to be really, again, riding that line, and that will depend entirely on having to win the next 2. And then, how close do you play Texas Tech? I mean, it would have to be awfully close, I feel like. But here we are talking about, can this team with 1 loss right now maybe get in with 2? And we're Texas just suffered their 3rd loss with 2 weeks to go, and they're basically in the playoffs still. It's just what the hell?
I wanted to ask Dandy Staples the question about what's the biggest misconception or whatever false narrative when it comes to the playoff. And you hear various ones. That's what Dave Bartu's about with us on Wednesday. But yeah, that was Cincinnati was broken by Utah, and then of course losing against Arizona at home. When we come back, we will have Paul Catalina's top 5. We'll have the wheel. We'll have much more. And tomorrow we'll dig a little bit deeper into the Big 12 with games that we did not mention specifically today.
Specifically to give Arizona some props tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Who gets to host Baylor this week? This is 365 Sports.
Dog deserves a second chance. In a loving home, they'll brew a second cup. And let's change the world for every pup. One cup at a time. Visit us at groundsandhoundscoffee.com.
For the past 4 years, we have trusted Jackery to keep us powered while on the road. The Explorer 5000 Plus provides 5,040 watt hours of portable power to pair it with the smart transfer switch to power your entire house off the Explorer 5000 Plus.
When you view the glass half full, the little things become magical. 10% of profits go to help kids heal. So choose optimism and make the magic real. Visit lifeisgood.com.
For those who want the best, look no further than the Founders Series by Louisiana Grills. If you want the best food, then you need the best grill. Louisiana Grills.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into the Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Go to flagandanthem.com. Use our promo code 365sports for a discount at checkout. Let's do a hot seat check-in. Shall we? You know what? It's nerve-wracking when other people are going to lose their jobs or potentially, so let's dive into it. A couple of very new names on the list this week. Number 5, it's warming up for Shane Beamer at South Carolina. A lost season. They're not even going to make a bowl now at 3-7, and they blew a 27-point lead in College Station to the number 3 Aggies just on Saturday. There was a lot of goodwill, but there's a lot of talent on that team. Lenora Sellers is thought to be a first-round quarterback. Dylan Stewart's the best defensive end in the country, and you have 3 total wins on the season. It's not looking good for Shane Beamer right now, but we'll see how South Carolina reacts to that in the next couple of weeks. Number 4, how did I get here? There's Sonny Dykes looking a little confused. And look, we're all kind of confused that all of a sudden the temperatures turned up in Fort Worth on Sonny Dykes. But just 3 years ago, he was in the national championship game, got rolled by Georgia, and then it's been a roller coaster of bad and mediocre for the Horned Frogs, mostly because they can't really stop anybody on defense, and on offense, they don't run the ball very well. But he's a quarterback guru. Josh Hoover is one of the best in the country, but you're looking at likely a 500 or slightly better team this year in the last 2 weeks. And I think the expectations are raised super high because year one, you put a team in the national championship game. Granted, that was with the majority of Gary Patterson's players, but you got the most out of them. So how do you change things? I don't know if Sonny Dykes is legitimately in trouble yet, but there is certainly scuttlebutt in Fort Worth. Number 3, is this still my job from Mark Stoops? I'm just surprised that this one hasn't already happened, given the other things that have gone on with SEC jobs. Like Auburn, like Florida, like Arkansas, like LSU. Mark Stoops has somehow stood the test of time this season. But as other things start to move, does Kentucky pull the trigger themselves? That's a big question because they're just kind of there in the SEC and also not really a bowl team and don't look like they're anywhere close to being a bowl team. Number 2, lost in the desert, Dave Aranda. At this point, I don't see any coming back for Dave Aranda and the Baylor fan base. They are apathetic to a high level. A defensive guru just gave up 50-plus points at home, and it's with the Mack Rhodes situation still unresolved to this point. There's just not a lot of reasons I can see to bring Dave Aranda back, even with the crazy coaching carousel that you're going to have. How this plays out is going to be very, very difficult to predict, and you'll just kind of have to roll with the punches. But I don't see Dave Aranda coming back as the head coach of the Bears next season, given the level of fan apathy, the performance the last few years since the Big 12 title, and the fact that the Mack Rhodes situation is chaotic, to say the least, right now at Baylor before they settle that down. And finally, hey, we won this week. Mike Norvell, 5-5, said the Seminoles, a 3-game improvement from a year ago. But when you put as much money into the program as the Florida State Illuminati have, they're not going to love only winning at home against teams like Wake Forest and Virginia Tech and losing on the road to teams like Stanford. Now, look, Virginia's a good team. Miami's a good team. And Pitt just took their, first loss in a few weeks to Notre Dame. But most of those games, except for Miami, were winnable, and they didn't win any of them. And that is where you get into what is going on with Mike Norvell. I fully expect him to be let go at the end of the season, especially if they finish 5-7. They've got tough matchups with NC State, who is on the rise, and a Florida team that has a far deeper roster than them in Gainesville. That is going to be a hard one coming up in the next couple of weeks. That's going to do it for the top 5. It's time for the Carnival. Here we go. The wheel is spinning. You just scored the game-winning touchdown. What's your go-to celebration?
Go-to celebration. My God, I think I'm doing the Icky Shuffle just as a throwback or something like that. That's the first thing that pops in mind. I'm not doing the Neon Dion, probably.
Well, I don't have enough rhythm to do that one anyway. Yeah.
The Heisman pose. I mean, I don't know.
Smokey, I'm curious on yours.
Well, I did that.
You did that?
My last game, my senior year, we were getting drilled, and there was a block punt. Rico Santiago blocked it. I picked it up, ran in the end zone. We were down like 20, and I ran in the end zone, and I started. There was a little time left. I did the Elmo right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure that went over well with your coach.
Yeah, you're in the end zone, you're dancing. Now, and my old school coach.
Go ahead and show us. How do you do it?
No, I'm not going to do it on the air. Not going to do it on the air. But you stand and you're just jumping up. You're like high knees with the football up in the air. Yeah. I think there's an 8mm reel somewhere on this earth that if I could find it, I would burn it. But that was it.
You know what I also liked is the electric slide.
Oh, yeah.
I actually like that one a good bit. I think that might be the one I go with.
Yeah. I would do something as a performer bespoke to me. I've been watching a lot of Dancing with the Stars, maybe a nice paso doble or a salsa. But yeah, I would do something that is mine. Like, that's what I would want to do. I don't know what the Paul Catalina touchdown dance is. Like, it might be, you know what I would do right now if I did it? It would be the truffle shuffle from Goonies.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Truffle shuffle.
I think more linemen who score touchdowns should do the truffle shuffle.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad. I saw Goonies just about a week ago. It was on TV and came across most of it, sat and watched most of it, even though I've seen it 1,000 times at this point.
So of the production staff, can you just give me a quick survey? How many of you have seen the Goonies?
Of course, Garrett
has. Okay.
Everybody has.
So you all like the Goonies, right? Okay. The Goonies is a weird movie. When you tell people to watch it after they're like, 13, if they haven't watched it the right season of life, they're like, well, this is a dumb little kids movie. And you're like, no, it's not.
But you watch it now and you're like, why did I love this so much? Because there's so many holes in it.
I've never stopped loving it, but yes.
Right, I still do too. But I'm also like, I definitely liked that more because I was a kid at the time.
I've also, regarding the plot holes, I've seen like every deleted scene, and they basically took out this stuff because they're like, well, we got to make it this short, so we'll take this out, and people just have to believe that nobody died in the bone keyboard thing.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway,
I'm going to guess Smokey hasn't seen Goonies.
I am watching the truffle shuffle as we speak.
Yeah. You want to see Paul do that?
Yeah.
Next
Yeah.
bet.
Yeah.
Paul has to do the truffle shuffle
No,
if
I don't think
if he
so.
loses.
No, I do not agree to that. I do not agree to that.
We better get to the quizzes.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
We have a super chat. We'll get to that, Brandon, near the end.
Which NFL team recorded a hit single during the 1985
Bears.
season?
The Bears.
The Super Bowl shuffle. Andrew, we've had, I don't know, we might have had 50% of that team on our shows over amount of the guys in the video.
Yeah, I think so. I think we have.
Yeah. I mean, like
led by Mike Singletary.
Some of them, the only ones we haven't had on, or the ones who like didn't do the video because they didn't like the idea of it, or they are no longer with us, like Walter Payton.
Yeah.
So,
all right, there we go. In 85, the historic defense recorded Super Bowl shuffle before they won it. Nearly half of the roster participated, and the song hit number 41 on the Billboard Hot 100 with profits going to charity. Their on-field dominance made the music project even more iconic. I covered their game in Dallas against the Cowboys at Texas Stadium that was, I believe, like 40-something to nothing. It was as dominant of a performance in an NFL game I've ever seen. 88% got this one right.
Yep. All right. Next up, which I feel like this is going to be hard because that one was easier. In the 1950s, this NFL team, led by a legendary coach whose last name is synonymous with the franchise, were the first to use a face mask to protect their star QB.
Cleveland Browns.
Cleveland Browns, because of Paul Brown.
Paul Brown was the owner. This was like a Monday treat from Sir Andrew today. Cleveland
thank
Browns.
you. Yeah. All right. In 1953, Cleveland Browns head coach Paul Brown asked equipment manager Leo Murphy to design a face mask for Otto Graham, who was a legend who suffered a lacerated mouth. The single-bar face mask let Graham play safely and became standard NFL equipment by 1955. Officially banned in 2004, players already using the single bar were grandfathered in. Its last NFL appearance was in 2007 when Browns punter Scott Player wore it in a 34-17 loss to the Patriots, ending an era. And I love how the first pass to protect his face was like, how about this one thin
I was going to
bar?
say, like, how low effort was this? Like this, here's this one bar that protects maybe your mouth, but nothing else. I hated these
used
helmets.
to wear it. A lot of times with that bar too, Craig and Paul, they'd lower it, pull it down.
Yeah, I hated the look of these helmets. I hated the 1 and 2 bar kicker helmets, and they look so much cooler nowadays. The helmet, like at first when they tried to do the concussion helmets, like they were too big and they were just kind of wonky, but they've pretty much perfected and make them look as sleek and cool as you possibly can now.
I had the one that had the 2 bars and then the one that came down that was supposed to protect your nose, and I still think I broke my nose.
Did you have the Kenneth Davis, or was it 2 bar? Like Kenneth Davis had that old, like there was a bar and a bar, and it was just like 4.
No, I know which one. No, this one had the 2 bars like that one twice, just like separated, and then one down the middle. That was supposed to protect your nose, which it really never did.
But y'all also probably didn't have, and I don't think I did at that point, but like now everything's so customized. It's like the helmet moves perfectly, whereas it's like the helmet was kind of loose back then. The chin strap was always breaking, whatever.
It was not good.
I had one of those badass like bull ring, like full face mask things.
Dion had the coolest face
like Hannibal
mask.
Lecter almost. It was
I had the whole kit and caboodle, but not that anybody ever was afraid.
Speaking of Dion, Shedeur played yesterday.
Yeah, he did, and they lost. He did not play all that well, but it was his first time out there, really getting the
first reps.
Getting the
first team,
the swing of things.
The one completion I saw, and I know we're getting off track, was about a 15, 18-yarder over the middle, which he made a really nice read and throw. But okay, now to the poll questions from today. As the head of a program coming off a disappointing season, what should be the top priority in the overhaul?
Culture and development wins at 51%, recruiting in the portal at 23%, staff changes 24%, and fans and community 2%. I think culture
it all depends. If you have a staff change, you can do all of that. Yeah,
but if you decide culture and development is an important thing, that maybe leads to a lot of these other things. So.
Yeah, I think that's the top choice. Although, I mean, I definitely understand voting for others. And I say going back to the Dave Aranda thing, I think one thing is his personality. He has no connection with the fan base whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like they have no skin in the game for him, nor does he for them, it feels like. And there's just no reason to to be excited or to like really get in the trenches with him. And I think that's also been part of his downfall, as opposed to somebody who's super donor friendly and trying to raise money. And that's really what they need whenever they do whatever they're going to do. But yeah, I mean, ultimately it boils down to culture and development, but I don't blame those who say recruiting portal, because talent's talent and talent wins in college football. You do have to have the culture to curate that talent, but there are times when your culture might suck. Urban Meyer, Florida, and it doesn't matter because you're so talented, right? But so I think it's a little column A, column B, but culture and development's a good answer.
Hey,
all right.
They did a documentary recently that said the culture didn't suck and that it's all everybody else's fault for Aaron Hernandez being a jackass.
Well, it was his fault. You got to blame it on Aaron Hernandez. He'd made the decision.
It was everybody else's fault.
All right. Did you see a future? Do you see a future where Lane Kiffin stays? Excuse me, Ole Miss. Yes, absolutely. I can see that.
I mean, after today, absolutely. After today, it sounds like that's where we're headed. If you're out there as Ole Miss, which is now putting out this deadline that's all been multi-reported on that they're going to do that, then yeah, I mean, I think with him openly keeping this vague and open enough to where he's got family flying around to Baton Rouge and Gainesville to check out the sights and sounds. I mean, that's a little bit more than just flirting.
They weren't quiet about it.
No, I mean, it's all just, it's out there. And, I do think Ole Miss, because it's him, you can't let him just run the show. Mm-hmm. You've got to like put your foot down, because he will squeeze every little bit out of this that he possibly can, and then maybe take it and then go leave with it. And so you've got to like maintain some integrity and some control. And you got to say, no, dude, you're not coaching the Egg Bowl if you're still leaving us out here hanging. So yeah, I don't blame Ole Miss, but I definitely feel like he's probably headed to either LSU or Florida at this point.
All right, so there's that. Lane Kiffin, I can see that. Again, I can see him leaving for something like that. I really hope that. I really like to see him see what he can accomplish. What is the ceiling at Ole Miss?
And I think maybe he does suddenly turn around with this and go, I was just screwing with Florida and LSU. Ole Miss, baby, come to the SIP. And that could very well happen as well. But you do have to force him to make that, because I do feel like he would draw that out as long as possible.
From Eric Jones. And Eric, I know that you're not going to like the answer, but consider adding some college wrestling content. Great sport, needs more coverage. National duels were over the weekend. Seth Duckworth on X. I sent Eric a note. I said, Eric, first of all, appreciate your passion for what you do and the super chat, but that's not going to probably be something you see very often, much at all in this show.
Just admittedly, it's not in our wheelhouse at all.
No.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk pro wrestling content, then I can help you out there.
Craig Smoak's pro
college wrestling.
It's an incredible sport.
We would definitely get bigger ratings in Stillwater if we did that. College wrestling content, because they're badass at it, but it's not like that's not our wheelhouse, like he said. I'm not knowledgeable enough to pretend to sit here and cover that on a real level like I would want to do for you.
It would be good in the Midwest for us, no question about it. A lot of Big Ten teams too.
Yeah, in the old days in radio, sometimes you wind up with an interview where you have to kind of fake it till you make it and get through, because it's kind of a client thing. I had to do a NASCAR segment for years and years, and I'd be like, man, that left turning was great this weekend.
I'm glad you didn't say right turning.
Yeah,
that would have been
turning.
Bad. Yeah,
and so it would be just disingenuous.
I thought NASCAR drivers were some of the best interviews I was ever able to do.
This one I think I would do. Still alive.
Gangnam Style.
Yeah.
Gangnam Style on next lost bet. Okay. Yeah, sure. And I also appreciate you're obviously somebody who's been watching #Olive Garden. Yeah. So thank you for that as well. But I think that would be a fun little way to pay off a bet. So
sure.
we'll see what he may want to bet on.
It's better than the 1 week ice out I got from my wife on the keg stand. So.
Oh, that's do you want to bet on Florida State?
I do not.
How can you?
I mean, in the game of crap versus vomit, which one disgusts you more?
So Otto Graham didn't need a mask. Punter's mask, mask even in the 80s. That face mask really escalated CTE.
No, it definitely played a role. Absolutely, the fact that it protected nothing whatsoever, other than maybe your teeth, depending on where the angle of the tackle is coming from.
It just feel like, hey, the Otto Graham was the best player in the NFL when that happened.
He was an MVP player.
He was the best player in the NFL, and so it would be like if you didn't have face mask or Patrick Mahomes, and Andy Reid told the equipment manager, like, "Hey, can we do something to protect Patrick's face?" And he's like, What about this?
Yeah.
And I would feel like he didn't really put his full effort into it.
Right. We can get 2 bars.
Can you imagine even then? But the size and speed of players now, that would be just snapped.
The sport wouldn't survive it.
Yeah. No.
There would be. Yeah, this would be like old Roman gladiator days where that wouldn't be able to even function.
All right.
That way.
Thank you very much. From Hottie Toddy, gonna writ a big check.
Hey,
from retired stockbroker on Lane Kiffin. Thank you to Brandon Rowe. Thank you to Garrett Ross, Andrew Valade, also Logan Dugessi.
Bugessi.
Yeah, I was close. I just
Paul.
got to be
Logan Paul.
Yeah.
Logan Paul.
It was about to fight Anthony Joshua.
I think they canceled that fight.
Oh, they already did?
I think so.
After today when they just announced it?
Oh, was it today? I thought it was another fight.
The first one got canceled because the guy got in trouble.
For Paul Catalina and for Greg Smoak, I'm David Smoak. Thanks for your time. See you tomorrow at 3 o'clock, 365 Sports.